Chapter 317. Senior Brother Sue, what happened to you guys? Little Fatty thought they were already in a miserable state, but Su Junqing and the rest were in an even worse state. The Lu sisters and Broom were covered in blood, exhausted, and in a sorry state. Many of them were injured and moaning on the ground. In comparison, Little Fatty, Yun Jioga, and the rest were so clean that they didn't look like they had just gone through a bloody battle. Not even a drop of blood stained Ice Lotus's white robe. Although the low-level disciples behind them were in a sorry state, they were still clean. In short, they were much better off than Su Junqing and the rest. How did you guys get through the grasslands? Didn't you encounter any blood dragons? Su Junqing asked in surprise. How is it possible that we didn't encounter a blood earth dragon? If senior brother Yunjio hadn't discovered that the ice energy could slow down the blood earth dragon's movements, we would have died in the grasslands. Little Fatty was still shocked at the thought of what had happened. Even if he had thrown out the treasure his uncle had given him, he might not have been able to leave the grasslands safely. It was all thanks to senior brother Yunjio. Yeah, it's all thanks to senior brother Yunjio for saving us. Senior brother Yunjio is too amazing. Without him we'd all be dead. The disciples discussed animatedly, all of them praising Yunjioga. The Lu sisters couldn't help but feel vexed. They should have stayed by senior brother Yunjio's side. Su Junqing vowed to be their backer. But when those poisonous earth dragons appeared just now, he ran faster than anyone else, and didn't even look at the two sisters. If senior brother Yunjio hadn't given them a lot of high-level soul recovery and poison prevention pills, as well as helped them refine the earth spirit bone spikes, they would have died in the grasslands. The Lu sisters were even more dissatisfied with Su Junqing when they thought of this. If it wasn't for him being the leader, they would have immediately sought refuge with senior brother Yunjio. Su Junqing's expression was extremely ugly. As the leader, he had gone through untold hardships before finally leading the 4th and 5th level Qi disciples to a bloody path through the grasslands. In the end, Yunjio had easily rescued more than 700 low-level disciples. This was basically a slap to his face. He was just short of pointing at his forehead and calling him useless. Junior brother Yunjioga sure is lucky to be able to make it through such a dangerous grassland. We'll have to rely on junior brother's luck from now on. Broom-chun laughed heartily, attributing Yunjioga's efforts to luck. Yunjioga ignored him and asked Su Junqing, Senior brother Su, didn't you say the grasslands are the second stage grass lizards' territory? Why are there so many blood dragons? She asked not because she was doubting, but because she really felt this grasslands were abnormal. The number and level of the blood earth dragons were simply too high. If it was like this in the past, then it was impossible for the Ying Corpse sect not to remind them. Junior brother Yunjio, what do you mean by that? This is senior brother Su's first time entering this dungeon. How could he have known that there were so many blood earth dragons in this grassland? How can you blame him? Su Yun Yun, Su Yun, Yun Yun Yun, Yun Yun Chi. Yunjioga found a corner to rest when she saw that Yunjioga was no longer in the mood to discuss these abnormalities. Broom-chun felt that he had chased Yunjioga away, so he happily called out to the disciples, You've all worked hard. Let's rest. I'm so tired. The disciple immediately sat down on the ground and began treating his wounds and resting. Ice Heart Lotus and Lil Fatty ran to Yunjioga's side. Yunjioga, do you still have more of that spirit insect extermination? Lil Fatty asked with a round face. Other than selling information, this guy also did some profiteering. The power of that spirit insect extermination had really opened his eyes. If he could sell it outside, it would definitely be a good price. This poison is not easy to refine. I only have a few bottles, and I've used them all. Yunjioga wouldn't sell them even if she had them. Spirit insect extermination required 49 different poisons to refine. The process was very complicated. If it wasn't for this little secret realm, she wouldn't have refined it. Moreover, this kind of large-scale poison was harmful to the world. It was fine to use it to save one's life, but it was a sin to use it to make money. Yunjioga's roots were very upright. If Yunjioga has more good stuff like this in the future, you must inform me in advance. We can discuss the price. Lil Fatty said unwillingly. Yinjoga nodded perfunctorily. The poison she concocted was for her own use, and she never sold it. At this moment, Ice Heart Lotus came over and pushed Lil Fatty away. She then asked seriously, Yinjoga, you usually cultivate your control. Yinjoga couldn't possibly tell Ice Heart Lotus that her control came from her dual cultivation with Zishang. That beast, right? That beast caught her for dual cultivation every day. But the amount of spiritual energy produced was so little. In order to escape from the abyss of suffering, she had no choice but to carefully control her spiritual energy and slowly remove the poison in her dantian. After a long period of time, this control came out. TSK, this is Yinjoga's unique secret. Can I tell you? Lil Fatty thought it was inconvenient for Yinjoga to say it, so he quickly tried to smooth things over. I was indeed rash. Ice Heart Lotus scratched her head in embarrassment. Her naive look was much cuter than Lutianer. Actually, it's not a secret. It's just that my method isn't suitable for you. If you want to practice, you can try condensing a ball of water on your fingertip, then add one to each finger. Yinjoga gave Ice Heart Lotus an idea. Although the ice spirit root was a variation of the water spirit root, Ice Heart Lotus clearly only focused on cultivating the ice spirit root. She had forgotten that water was the origin. Only by understanding the profound meaning of water could she use the ice spirit root. Alright, I'll try. Ice Heart Lotus first raised her thumb and condensed a water droplet, then her index finger. The first two fingers were relatively smooth, but when the water droplet appeared on the third finger, the first two fingers disappeared. When your 10 fingers can be as regular as the rain, that's when you'll succeed. Yinjoga saw that Ice Heart Lotus was a stubborn person. If she could continue cultivating like this, her cultivation would definitely improve greatly. Alright. Ice Heart Lotus nodded excitedly. A blush flashed across her fair jade-like face. It seemed that she had made up her mind to try it out. Yinjoga, what about me? Lil Fatty also came over to ask. Go back and ask your uncle. Yinjoga glanced at him. My uncle can't cultivate. Lil Fatty's face was bitter as he pestered Yinjoga. Teach me. You have the earth spirit root. Normally, condense a layer of earth element under your feet to walk. When that layer of earth element can cover your entire body, you'll be fine. Seeing that Lil Fatty had sold quite a lot of useful information, Yinjoga casually gave him a few pointers. Alright. Lil Fatty felt that it was reasonable, and quickly went to the side to try it out. Chapter 318. Although Yinjoga was only at the Qi refinement stage, she was already an advanced spiritualist back in the Thunder Nation. She was not far from the foundation establishment stage. Now that she was cultivating from the beginning, her comprehension was even stronger. Giving pointers to 2 Qi refinement stage 3 disciples was a piece of cake. TSK, she really thinks she's some big shot giving pointers. Broomchin sneered. That's right. Senior Su hasn't even said anything yet. Low-level disciples are really ignorant. The others flattered. Su Junqing did not say anything, but his gloomy expression showed that he was very unhappy. Senior Su, don't be angry. We're about to reach the black pool. When the time comes. Broomchin smiled sinisterly. Su Junqing's expression eased up. Are you guys ready? Senior Su, don't worry. I guarantee that this kid won't be able to return. Broomchin also disliked Yinjio. Previously, with Su Junqing's help, he killed Fatty Chiu and became the leader of the second peak. But today, Yinjio saved the low-level disciples from the grassland and became their savior. When they returned to the outer sect peak, Yinjio would be the new leader. There would be no place for him. Therefore, Yinjio had to die. Su Junqing calmed himself down and stood up. Everyone, this is not a good place to rest. There's a small canyon up ahead. It's a safe zone. We'll rest there tonight. Yes, the disciples hurriedly answered. Although Senior Su wasn't very impressive on this grassland trip, he was still the leader and a proud disciple of the Ink Flower Peak. These low-level disciples did not dare to disobey his orders. The rest of the journey was relatively peaceful. Occasionally, a few demonic beasts would appear, but they were quickly killed by the high-level disciples. At dusk, Yinjoga and the rest finally arrived at the small canyon that Su Junqing mentioned. Although not a single blade of grass grew here, and it was completely empty, it made the disciples who had experienced the thrilling grassland feel relaxed from the bottom of their hearts. Without waiting for Su Juanqing's orders, the outer sect disciples formed groups of 10 and started a bonfire according to the group they had when they were exploring the grassland. Yin Jioga kept a low profile and went to a corner. Ice Heart Lotus and little fatty Jean Lin automatically followed beside her and helped to light the bonfire like little brothers. The bonfire that Su Junqing, the Lu sisters, Broom Chun, and the other high-ranking disciples made in the middle of the group was the brightest. Senior brother Yun Jiao, you've always been so nice to those two sisters, but they didn't even come to greet you, little fatty grumbled, feeling sorry for senior brother Yun Jiao. Yin Jioga glanced at the Lu sisters. The two sisters had just found a place to freshen up. Although they had already changed into new clothes, they still looked very tired. At this moment, he was leaning against the fire, looking listless. He didn't even look in Yin Jioga's direction. Before entering the small mysterious realm, Yin Jioga had already told the two sisters to keep their distance. Unless Su Junqing made a move, they would not contact him. So he was very satisfied with their attitude. Senior brother Su, didn't the sect give you a map? Tell us about the places we're going to pass by. Broomchin raised his voice and asked. Yeah, if you tell us, we can all discuss it. Even if something unexpected happens, we definitely won't blame you like some ignorant people. The other high-ranking disciples said with innuendo. Today's matter in the grassland was my fault. It caused everyone to suffer heavy losses. It's my fault. Su Junqing first painfully reflected on his mistake. His attitude immediately made the low-ranking disciples have a good impression of him. The Yin Corps sect's inner sect disciples always had their eyes on the top of their heads. Even if they did something wrong, they wouldn't admit it to a low-ranking disciple. Su Juanqing's attitude was really rare. Senior brother Su, please don't say that. If it wasn't for you leading the way and fighting a bloody battle, we would already be dead. Without you, we wouldn't have been able to get here. Broom Chun and the others immediately flattered Su Junqing. When the atmosphere was almost ready, Su Junqing then said, according to the sect's map, we still have to pass through the death swamp. This swamp is filled with miasma. Not only are there groups of poisonous mosquitoes and insects, there are also many armored crocodiles hiding there. It's even more dangerous than the grassland. Su Juanqing's expression became serious. He definitely wasn't trying to scare them. Every time they passed through this swamp, more than half of them would die. Even he had to be extremely careful. Heavens, then wouldn't we be courting death by going to the swamp? Broomchin shouted exaggeratedly. When the low-ranking disciples heard this news, they turned pale with fright. Before they entered the secret realm, there were more than 1,000 people. Now that they passed the grassland, there were only 700 people left. If the swamp was even more dangerous than the grassland, then wouldn't it be a 9 out of 10 chance of survival? Lu Tian pitifully grabbed her sister's hand. Su Junqing couldn't be relied on. They had to think of a way to go to senior brother Yin Jiao. Lu Mei patted her sister's hand. With the current situation, they could only take it one step at a time. Senior brother Yin Jiao, what should we do? Little Fatty also swallowed his saliva. Although his uncle gave him a protective talisman to pass through the swamp, after the thrilling experience in the grassland, he didn't believe that this protective talisman would be effective. Listen to what he has to say. Yin Jiao looked at Su Juanqing's expression. He didn't just say it to scare everyone. He definitely had a way to deal with it. Sure enough, Su Junqing waited for the outer sect disciples to finish their discussion before saying, although the death swamp is dangerous, the sect has found a way to deal with it after so many years. What way? Senior brother, hurry up and say it. At this point no one wanted to die. Everyone listen to me. Su Junqing gestured for everyone to calm down. After everyone quietened down, he said, if we want to successfully pass through the death swamp, we have to go to the black water pond that is 10 miles away from here to find the black crystal water grass. This kind of water grass can not only dispel the miasma, it can also get rid of poisonous insects. As long as you carry it on your body, even the armored crocodiles won't easily get close. Is the black water pond very dangerous? They had just experienced a huge battle and were really scared out of their wits. There is a school of second-level sharp fang fish in the black water pond, but the sect specially refined a type of pill to avoid them. If we sneak in at night, we won't encounter any danger. Su Junqing continued. Senior brother Su, I volunteered to help everyone find the black crystal water grass. Broom Chun stood up, instantly receiving a round of applause. Someone volunteered to do such a dangerous thing. He had to be encouraged. Junior brother Chun is indeed a good person. I have a total of 6 pills here, and you can choose another 5 people to go with you. Su Junqing said. Junior brother Wang, junior brother Qiu. Broom Chun picked 5 of his subordinates in one breath, and finally pointed in Yun Jiuji's direction. He smiled and said, Junior brother Yun Jiu's luck is so strong. I also hope that I can benefit from his luck and help everyone bring back the black crystal water grass. Chapter 319. When Lu Tian'er heard Broom Chun's words, she tightened her grip on Lu Meier's hand. She opened her mouth to say something, but could not say a word. Su Junqing and Broom Chun were obviously targeting senior brother Yun Jiu. Even if they objected, it would be useless. Instead, it would arouse Su Junqing's suspicion. Beside the bonfire, Yun Jiuge lowered his reddened eyes. His pale face was expressionless, as if he did not know Su Junqing was targeting him. I'll go too, Ice Heart Lotus suddenly said. Her beautiful eyes reflected the bonfire with a determined glow. Little Fatty hesitated for a moment before saying, Then I'll go too. His voice was so soft that it sounded like a buzzing mosquito. Su Junqing frowned slightly. Although Ice Heart Lotus and Jean Lin were outer sect disciples, there were people in the inner sect. Furthermore, they were not ordinary people. It was fine if something happened to them in the grasslands, but if people knew that he had sent them on a dangerous mission, they would probably hold a grudge. He had to think of a way to stop these 2 troublemakers. At that moment, Yun Jiuge said lightly, The quality of the people for this mission is not the quantity. I'll go with senior brother Chen. Senior brother Yun Jiu. Ice Heart Lotus frowned. Could he not tell that Su Junqing was deliberately messing with him? Perhaps they had already set up a trap at the black pool. When do we set off? Yun Jiuge looked at Su Junqing. If Su Junqing was leading the team personally, she would still have some reservations. Broom Chun and a few small shrimps, killing them in minutes was not difficult at all. After midnight, Su Junqing smiled. He could not be more satisfied with Yun Jiuji's cooperation. All right. Yun Jiuge nodded. Then he said to Ice Heart Lotus and Little Fatty, I'm tired. I need to rest. You guys go to the side. With that said, he found a place to close his eyes. Ice Heart Lotus and Little Fatty looked at each other. Not knowing what to say, they obediently went to the side. After Su Junqing arranged for the patrolling disciples, he let them sleep on the ground. The night in the small mystic realm was gloomy. There were no stars or moon. The clouds were thick and there was no wind. It was so hot that it was uncomfortable. Although everyone had insect repellent on them, the dark green mosquitoes still buzzed around them. If they were accidentally stared at, they would immediately become a blood bag. Even if they wanted to sleep, it would be very difficult. Su Junqing was also annoyed by the bugs. He opened his eyes and looked at the Lu sisters, only to see that they were refreshed, and there were no mosquitoes on them. He couldn't help but wake Lu Tian'er up and ask, Junior sister Lu, do you have any special insect repellent pills on you? No, we also used the insect repellent powder given by the sect. Lu Tian'er blinked her big eyes and pretended to be ignorant. There was no way she would tell Su Junqing that she had used senior brother Yun Jiu's bug repellent. Senior brother, have you used up all of your insect repellent powder? I still have some here, senior brother, take it. Lu Meier pretended to wake up and handed over the insect repellent powder given by the sect. No need. He had a lot of these things, but they had no effect on the mosquitoes in this small mystic realm. When Su Junqing thought about how the mosquitoes would be even scarier after entering the swamp, he felt irritated. He wanted to personally go to the black water pool and bring back the black crystal water grass. However, he had already formulated a flawless plan. He believed that Broom Chun and the others would definitely be able to kill Cloud9, and bring back the black crystal aquatic grass. Su Junqing felt much better when he thought of this. He decided not to sleep anymore, and sat up to wait for the time to come. When the time came, Yin Jiuge got up on time. Many disciples also opened their eyes secretly. Ice Heart Lotus and Little Fatty looked at Broom Chun, and the others nervously. Senior Brother Su, can you give us the pills now? Broom Chun and his 4 subordinates surrounded Su Junqing. Keep these maps and pills well. Su Junqing took out a map and a small white jade bottle. Senior Brother Su, you can't put all your eggs in the same basket. This black water pool is so dangerous. If something happens to Senior Brother Chen, won't our black crystal water grass go to waste? Little Fatty complained, completely ignoring Broom Chen's threatening gaze. That's right. It's better to distribute the pills now. Ice Heart Lotus also said. Su Junqing rolled his eyes and said with a smile, Junior brothers are right. Let's distribute them now. He poured the black pills in the jade bottle into his palm, and said to Broom Chun and the others, this is the qi-concealing and water-repelling pill refined by the sect. Not only can it cover up the human smell, it can also prevent water from escaping. Even if you enter the water, you won't have to be afraid of being discovered by the sharp-teeth fish. Thank you, Senior Brother. Broom Chun took one. The others followed, with Yin Jiugu at the back. Junior Brother Yin Jiu, you have to be careful during this mission. So many of our lives are in your hands. Su Junqing personally placed the black pill into Yin Jiuji's palm. Senior Brother Su, don't worry. I definitely won't let you down. Yin Jiuge said word by word in a serious tone. Alright, it's getting late. You guys should hurry over. Su Junqing said with a smile. Senior Brother, just wait for our good news. Broom Chun cupped his hands, exchanged a look with Su Junqing, and led the others out of the canyon. Under the worried gazes of Little Fatty, Ice Heart Lotus, and the Lu sisters, Yin Jiuge silently left with Broom Chun. 10 miles away from the camp, there was a pitch-black pool of water embedded in the sunken canyon. Not a single blade of grass grew around the pool. There were no signs of humans, birds, or beasts. The pool was even darker than the night sky. It was pitch black, and even when the wind blew, it didn't cause any ripples. At this moment, Yin Jiuge, Broom Chun, and the others were standing by the side of the black pool. Junior Brother Yin Jiu, hurry up and eat the pill. The sooner we find the black crystal water grass, the sooner our fellow brothers can rest assured. Broom Chun said seriously. Under the nervous gazes of Broom Chun and the others, Yin Jiuge slowly put the black pill that Su Junqing had just given him into his mouth. Then, he placed his tongue on the roof of his mouth. Although Broom Chun heaved a sigh of relief, he didn't dare show it on his face. Instead, he pretended as if nothing had happened and said to the others, everyone relax. After eating this pill, the sharp-toothed fish will definitely avoid us. Let's hurry into the water and try to get more black crystal water grass back. After saying that, he called out to Yin Jiuge, Junior Brother Yin Jiu, you go first. Their plan was to kill Yin Jiu in the water. If he didn't go into the water, it would be troublesome. Let's go together. Yin Jiuge said calmly. Alright then, let's go together. Broom Chun nodded readily, then led the way into the pool. Junior Brother Yin Jiu, let's go. The other 4 disciples looked at Yin Jiuge with smiles. It was obvious that they wanted to line up behind her. Yin Jiuge didn't say anything else, and went straight into the black pool. The other 4 disciples' eyes flashed with viciousness as they followed behind her into the water. Chapter 320. The water of the black pool was very cold, as if it was made of yin qi. The visibility in the water was very low, and it was as dark as the deep sea. Broom Chun took out a light blue bead from his storage bag. After inserting spirit energy into it, it emitted a faint light, illuminating the surroundings within a 10-meter radius. Yin Jiuge nimbly swam in the water, maintaining a certain distance from Broom Chun and the others. Broom Chun didn't have any intention of approaching her. He brought his subordinates to the depths of the pool, and found a cluster of black water plants, emitting a gentle and beautiful light. Broom Chun shook the bead in Yin Jiuge's hand, and the light turned into a line of large words. We'll go pick it, you protect us. Yin Jiuge patted the water, indicating her agreement. Broom Chun, and the others slowly sank to the bottom of the pool, and then reached out to grab the black crystal water plants and forcefully pulled them out. The originally calm water immediately began to churn, as if a slumbering monster was awakening. Following that, the water in the distance began to ripple, and countless large fish with snow-white scales swam towards Yunjioga. The fish's mouths were filled with fine white teeth, and it was obvious they weren't vegetarians. Broomchin immediately inserted spirit energy into the blue bead in his hand, and a faint blue light enveloped him and his 4 disciples. Hee brat die. Broomchin revealed a proud smile. Before Su Junqing entered the small hidden realm, he had already given them the real qi-concealing water pill. Yunjioga only received a normal water-concealing pill, which could only last for a short period of time, and definitely not enough for her to escape. Broomchin thought of the bloody scene of Yunjioga being torn to shreds by the sharp-teeth fish, and became extremely excited. Unexpectedly, Yunjio calmly took out a black pouch from his storage bag, and shook it in the face of the sharp fang fish that were swarming towards him. Dozens of small white bones floated out, and quickly formed the skeleton of a large monkey. Following that, the soul fire in the monkey's eyes lit up, and a gray light enveloped Yunjioga's body. Broomchin stared at the small white bone monkey, and clearly recognized the identity of the profound white bone monkey. His heart was burning with passion. This profound white bone monkey was a great helper for cultivation. If he could get his hands on it, he would be able to reach foundation building soon. Unfortunately, before he could finish his thoughts, he saw Yunjioga take out a faint blue stone and put it in his mouth. Then he turned and swam towards Broomchin and the others. His speed was even faster than the sharp-teeth fish. There was a loud bang. 3 black bone spikes that flickered with different colors struck their protective shields. The barrier shook violently, and the light slowly dimmed. Yunjioga waved his hand again, and 3 bone spikes shot out simultaneously, once again exploding on Broomchin and the rest's defensive barrier. This time, the light blue bead directly shattered into countless water droplets, and the protective shield also disappeared. This time, the blue pearl directly shattered into countless water droplets, and the barrier disappeared. Yunjioga floated in the water, her black hair swaying in the wind. Her pale face, slightly red eyes, light purple lips, and exquisite facial features made her look as beautiful as a water demon. That pair of cold eyes looked at Broomchin and the others as if he was looking at dead people. She waved her fair palm lightly, and the 3 bone spikes turned into black smoke. They spun around Broomchin and the others' bodies, and instantly cut open their skin. The red blood spread in the pool, immediately causing a commotion among the sharp-toothed fish. Broomchin's eyes widened in horror. When Su Junqing gave them the pills, he repeatedly emphasized one point, and that was that they absolutely could not see blood. Otherwise the effects of the pills would immediately disappear. Escape! They must escape immediately. Broomchin took out his own bone spear, infused all of his spiritual energy into it, and dashed towards the surface of the water. The other disciples also followed suit. Yunjioga landed in the middle of the black crystal aquatic grass, and watched as they frantically fled. He slowly began to harvest the black crystal aquatic grass. In terms of concealing one's aura and avoiding water, was there anything more awesome than the mystic white skeleton monkey and the blue water crystal? Those sharp-toothed fishes ignored her and the white bone monkey, crazily chasing after Broomchin and the others. Broomchin and the others struggled with all their might in the water, but their flesh was still bitten off by the sharp-toothed fishes. The entire pool was dyed red with blood. In the small canyon, Su Junqing was not sleepy at all. From time to time, he would glance at the entrance of the canyon. According to his calculations, Broomchin and the others should have completed their mission and returned. Why was there still no movement? At this moment, the patrolling disciple ran back excitedly and said, "Senior Yunjio is back, and he even brought back a lot of black crystal aquatic grass." Just as he finished speaking, a slender figure appeared at the entrance of the canyon. He was carrying a large bundle of black crystal aquatic grass that was slightly covered in water vapor. The storage bag on his waist had a small opening, and a bundle of black crystal aquatic grass flowed out, as if it could not be filled and could not be pulled out. Senior Yunjiu is too awesome. When the disciples saw the black crystal aquatic grass, they all cheered. What did it mean for Senior Yunjiu to carry it on his back? It meant that the storage bag could not hold it anymore. These low-level disciples were previously worried that there would not be enough black crystal aquatic grass, and that they would not receive much. Now it seemed that there was more than enough. When Su Junqing saw that Yunjiu had returned, he was so angry that he almost exploded. Broom Chun and the others were really useless. The trap that he had meticulously designed actually allowed Yunjiu to survive. Senior Su, with so many black crystal aquatic grass, we should have no problem crossing the deathly swamp, right? Lu Tianer acted as if she did not see Su Junqing's ugly expression, and asked with a sweet smile. It shouldn't be a problem. Su Junqing forced a smile. Senior Su, fortunately, we did not disappoint you. Yunjiu threw the pile of black crystal aquatic grass in front of Su Junqing. Junior Yunjiu is really lucky. Su Junqing squeezed out a comforting smile, then looked behind Yunjiu and asked, "Where are Junior Chun and the others?" Senior Chun and the others accidentally cut their hands while picking the black crystal aquatic grass, and attracted a lot of sharp-toothed fish. At that time, the situation was critical, and for the sake of the bigger picture, they let me leave with the black crystal aquatic grass first. In the end, they were surrounded by the sharp-toothed fish and died in the line of duty. Not even their bones were left. Yunjiu's face was expressionless, but his voice was filled with pain. Sob, 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 Senior Chun is really righteous. Sob, 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 we will not forget Senior Chun's kindness. The Lu sisters immediately started sobbing. All the disciples also expressed that Senior Chun had died a worthy death, and that they would definitely remember it in their hearts. Pui, what do you mean by dying in the line of duty? It was clearly you who secretly killed them. Su Junqing roared in his heart, but now that the crowd was in high spirits, he did not want to pour cold water on them. He could only force a smile and say, "When we return, I will definitely report Junior Chen's heroic deeds to the sect and record their contributions." Yes, yes, yes. All the disciples nodded their heads, but at the same time they were thinking, he's already dead. What's the use of recording his contributions? Chapter 321. Senior Brother Su, the dead are already dead. The living are more important. Take a look at how to distribute the black crystal aquatic grass. As Yunjiu spoke, he poured out the black crystal aquatic grass from his storage bag. She had purposely dove into the deepest part of the black water pool, and found a patch of black crystal aquatic grass that was over 100 years old. She even picked the best quality ones. Each of the black crystal aquatic grass was 3 feet long and completely black. They shone faintly even after leaving the water. It was obvious that they were of the highest quality. These black crystal aquatic grass are of high quality. Everyone only needs one. Su Junqing focused and distributed the black crystal aquatic grass. The human-sized black crystal aquatic grass was distributed to more than 700 disciples. There was still a large pile left. Su Junqing naturally had to take care of the rest. At this time Yunjiu spoke. "Why don't we give everyone one more? It's better to be prepared." "That's right, there are still so many left. It's more than enough to give everyone one more." Little Fatty hurriedly agreed. The other disciples naturally agreed as well. What was in their hands belonged to them. If they left it with Su Junqing, they would have to beg him to use it. If they didn't beg, they would lose their lives. Although Su Junqing was unwilling, these black crystal aquatic grass were brought back by Yunjiu. If he wanted to distribute it, he would lose the hearts of the people if he stopped him. Alright, then everyone will take one more. Su Junqing distributed another round of black crystal aquatic grass. Finally, there were only about 10 left. He put them away with a pained expression. Then he ordered, "Everyone rest for 45 minutes. Then we will head to the deathly swamp." Yes. The disciples carefully stored the black crystal aquatic grass in the safest place. Then they checked their storage bags. 45 minutes later they set off on time. After Yunjiu and the others walked through a large wasteland, they finally arrived at the deathly swamp. From afar, it looked like an endless stretch of brown swamp. The swamp looked very calm. There were no mosquitoes, no armored crocodiles, and not even miasma. Senior brother Sue, is this the deathly swamp? It doesn't look very dangerous. Lu Tian'er looked left and right but couldn't see the aura of death. There must be a reason behind this. Everyone be careful. After the blood earthworm in the grassland, Su Junqing didn't dare to underestimate this swamp. After he took out the demonic flower bone spur, he thought that it wasn't safe, so he opened a small red pouch covered with runes. A beautiful woman wearing a red palace dress appeared beside him. The girl's face was pale, her eyes were lifeless, her eyebrows were like a painting, and there was a very eye-catching red mole. It was Yi Yunji that had been refined into a Yin corpse. Senior brother Su, is this your life source Yin corpse? It's so beautiful. Lu Tian'er praised. Now is not the time to worry about this. Everyone, when we enter the swamp, don't panic. Follow me closely. Su Junqing ignored Lu Tian'er's words and instructed the disciples on the matters to take note of when entering the death swamp. Although Su Junqing liked to be flattered, he was very low-key in front of Yi Yunji. If he wasn't worried about getting injured in the swamp, he wouldn't have let Yi Yunji out. Yin Zhuge's pupils constricted when he saw Yi Yunji. Resentment rushed to his head from the bottom of his heart. If it wasn't for the fact that she couldn't change her expression after being poisoned, her face would have been terrifying. Senior brother Yin Zhuge, what's wrong? Little Fatty noticed the change in Yin Zhuge's mood. It's nothing. Yin Zhuge looked down, hiding the anger in his eyes. You also feel that this swamp is very strange, right? Little Fatty said to himself. He thought that he would see a swamp filled with miasma, mosquitoes flying, and armored crocodiles everywhere. He never thought that it would be this quiet. Anyone would feel that something was wrong. We still have to go in no matter how strange it is. There's no point in talking about it. Yin Zhuge lightly replied. Junior brother Yin Zhuge is right. We've already come this far. There's no point in being afraid. Everyone has high-level black crystal water grass, so as long as we're careful, there won't be any problems. Remember to follow me closely. Su Junqing took out a yellow bead from his storage bag. This was the Earth Spirit bead. It was specially used to test whether it was possible to walk in the swamp. He saw him pour his spirit energy into the Earth Spirit bead, and an earthy yellow light filled the air. Some places were very dark, and some places were very thin. The dark places were possible to walk, while the thin places were the swamp. With this Earth Spirit bead, everyone successfully walked into the swamp. Yi Yunji walked quietly beside Su Junqing. Her red satin shoes were covered in a faint layer of gray air, making it seem like she was floating on the ground. Little Fatty's eyes lit up when he saw this. Previously, senior brother Yin Zhuge had reminded him to gather earth element under his feet, but he had never understood it. Now he suddenly understood. A layer of yellow light appeared under his feet, making it much easier to walk on the muddy path. Use it sparingly. You don't have enough spirit energy. Ice Heart Lotus reminded him. This was not the time to cultivate. Oh, Little Fatty also realized that his spirit energy was depleting quickly, so he immediately stopped cultivating and focused on following the path that Su Junqing had created. From the outside, the swamp looked very calm, but once they entered, they realized that it was extremely hot and stuffy. It was like a steamer, making it hard for them to breathe. Sweat kept flowing out, and even drinking water was useless. The path was terrifyingly calm, as if they were walking in a graveyard. There was no sound at all, not even the sounds of insects, fish, birds, or beasts. Senior brother Yin Zhuge, something doesn't seem right. Little Fatty looked left and right, feeling a chill run down his spine. Yin Zhuge had been observing the swamp the whole time. When he heard Little Fatty's words, he took out a white feather-like leaf from his storage bag and threw it on the swamp. What is this? Little Fatty asked curiously. This is a white feather leaf, a medicinal herb used to dispel moisture. It can float on water and not sink, Yin Zhuge explained simply. Then why did you throw it here? Little Fatty didn't understand what dispelling moisture had to do with the swamp. You'll understand later. Yin Zhuge didn't explain and continued walking with Su Junqing. After walking through another 2 swamps, Little Fatty finally understood what Yin Zhuge meant. The white feather leaf that he had thrown out earlier appeared in front of him again. "We've been walking in circles," little Fatty cried out involuntarily. Su Juanqing's expression turned ugly when he saw the white feather leaf. If it wasn't for Yin Jioga's probing, he would probably have continued to lead the group in circles. "Senior brother Yin Jioga, have we encountered a ghost wall? Then what should we do?" The disciples were all panicking, and all of them went to ask Yin Jioga, leaving Su Juanqing to the side. "This isn't a ghost wall. It should be some kind of illusion technique. As for how to break it, we'll need to borrow senior brother Su's earth spiritual bead." Yin Jioga looked at Su Juanqing indifferently. She couldn't open her spiritual eye, so she could only rely on external objects. Chapter 322. Su Juanqing's expression changed, but he still obediently took out the earth spirit bead. After Yin Jioga injected spirit energy into the earth spirit bead, he first sent earth spirit energy in all 4 directions. Following that, he took out a red pill the size of a thumb, crushed it, placed it in his palm and blew it. The red powder drifted away along with the earth's spiritual power, and finally gathered in a direction in the west, and stopped moving. "I never expected the fantasy-breaking pill to be used like this. What an eye-opener," Ice Heart Lotus said emotionally. His sister-in-law was a level 4 alchemist of the Een Corpse sect. He had been by her side since he was young, and thought that he had seen a lot. He never expected that he would gain new knowledge today. "Everyone attacked that place with me." Yin Jioga was the first to raise a black bone spike, and attack the place where the red powder was gathered. Su Juanqing also raised his demonic flower bone spike, and turned into a black stream of light that followed behind Yin Jioga's bone spike. Amidst the rumbling, a dark green flower suddenly appeared in the originally empty place. The stamen of the flower was in the shape of a bloody mouth, and it was constantly breathing out black mist. Su Juanqing pinched his fingers, and the 3 black flowers on the demonic flower bone spike flew out, and tore the strange green flower into pieces. After the illusion was dispelled, the real death swamp appeared in front of everyone. Rolling reddish-gray mist instantly appeared with mosquitoes flying around. The armored crocodiles were at their feet in the swamp, waiting for them to fall into the pot with their mouths wide open. A disciple accidentally fell into the swamp in a panic, and was immediately drowned by the armored crocodiles. Yin Jioga reacted quickly, and shot out a Een Chi rope to pull the person up. In the end, the area below his waist was badly mangled by the armored crocodiles. Many disciples turned pale with fright when they saw the bloody scene. The group began to panic. "Everyone has the black crystal water grass on you. These armored crocodiles will not approach you. Just hold your ground." Su Juanqing tried to calm the disciples, but no one cared about him. "Form groups of 10, and look out for each other. Pay attention to where you step. If you can't cross it, use the frigid frost Een energy palm to seal off the path. We've already made it through the grasslands, so this little swamp is nothing." Yin Jioga concentrated his energy into his dantian, and his clear voice entered everyone's ears. "Don't be afraid. Senior Yin Jio will definitely lead us through this." Little Fatty and Ice Heart Lotus comforted. The disciples immediately quieted down. Only then did they realize that the black crystal water grass on them was emitting a black mist with a fishy smell. Not only did it isolate the red miasma, but it also prevented the mosquitoes from approaching. The armored crocodile also seemed to be quite afraid of the black mist. Yin Jioga seemed to have forgotten that the earth spirit pearl was borrowed from Juanqing. He injected spirit energy into it, and continued forward after confirming the path. Yin Jioga seemed to have forgotten that he had borrowed the earth spirit bead from Su Juanqing. He inserted his spiritual power into it, and after confirming the route, he continued moving forward. Ice Heart Lotus and Little Fatty guarded her vigilantly, intentionally or unintentionally cutting Su Juanqing apart. Su Juanqing's face darkened, but she didn't mention anything about taking it back. Now that the disciples generally believed in her, it was useless to take it back. Yin Jioga led the way, while Ice Heart Lotus used her frostbone spike to create an ice path. The disciples behind him used their frost Een energy palms to slowly advance on the ice path. Yin Jioga led the way. Ice Lotus used frostbone spikes to form an ice path. The disciples behind him used frost-eaten palm and slowly advanced. Occasionally, disciples would be dragged into the water by the armored crocodiles. But overall it was rather smooth. Yin Joga saw that the yellow mist had condensed into a large patch in front of him. It was obvious that there was a piece of solid ground for him to rest on. Yin Joga saw the brown mist condense in front of them. It was obvious that there was a piece of land for them to rest on. The land was about an acre wide. The brown soil was very hard. It was isolated from the surrounding swamp. It must have been condensed by the disciples of the past. Junior Yinjiao. Su Junqing was about to retrieve the Earth Spirit Pearl. Suddenly, screams and the sound of the armored crocodiles chewing on bones came from the east of the miasma. Not only that, but they were also shooting out bone spikes. The reddish-gray miasma stirred. It was obvious that an intense battle had taken place. The disciples of the other outer sect peaks have been attacked. Yin Joga looked in that direction. He had no idea which outer sect peak it was. Little Fatty's heart sank. He really wanted to say that they should avoid it. They had a competitive relationship with the other outer sect disciples. It was good enough that they didn't hit them when they were down. Saving them was impossible. Who's in front? At this moment, a sharp female voice came from the front. It was Bailan's voice. Senior Sister Bailan, how are you guys? Su Junqing was delighted. Help had finally come. We've encountered a group of armored crocodiles. Junior brother Su, hurry and bring people to help us. Bailan's voice was anxious. It looked like she couldn't hold on much longer. Junior Yinjiao, why don't you come with me to save them? Su Junqing said. The disciples here need me more. Yin Joga rejected decisively. Previously, she gave Su Junqing face because she didn't want him to have an excuse. Now that the disciples were on her side, there was no need to put on an act. Su Junqing's face turned cold. He didn't continue persuading her. He only looked at the remaining Qi disciple level 5 disciples, and the Lu sisters. Which one of you will come with me? The disciples all lowered their heads and pretended to be tired. The Lu sisters said pitifully, Senior brother, the two of us can't even protect ourselves. How can we save people? Good. You're all good. Su Junqing nodded viciously and turned to leave. Yi Yunji floated leisurely behind him, her red sleeves gradually disappearing into the miasma. Senior brother Yinjiao, senior brother Su seems angry. Little Fatty was a little worried that Su Junqing and Bailan would come back and cause trouble. We'll deal with it when it comes. Yin Joga wasn't afraid of them. Not long after, Su Junqing brought Bailan and the rest to this small piece of land. There were originally 1,000 disciples on peak number 3. Now there were only 300 or so left. None of the rank 2 disciples were left. Apart from Bailan, the 300 people were all in a sorry state. They all had injuries on their bodies. It was obvious that they had experienced countless bloody battles. Junior brother Su is really capable. Bailan looked at the remaining 700 people on peak number 2. She was extremely shocked. This time, when they entered the small mystic realm, the situation they encountered was completely different from what the sect had provided. There was danger everywhere. She had relied on a rank 3 corpse Qi ghost lantern to protect so many high-level disciples. She had thought that her losses on peak number 3 were already considered low. She didn't expect Su Junqing to have even fewer. But the strange thing was that quite a few of Broom Chen's high-level disciples had died, but 2/3 of the rank 2 disciples had survived. It seemed like there was something fishy going on. Chapter 323. Senior sister, you must be joking. I don't have that ability. It's all thanks to junior brother Yinjiao. If he hadn't brought back a batch of high-grade black crystal aquatic grass from the black pool, we probably wouldn't have crossed the swamp so easily. Su Junqing said with a faint smile. High-grade black crystal aquatic grass? Bailan's eyes immediately lit up. They had previously gone to search for black crystal aquatic grass, but unfortunately, they had only brought back ordinary ones. As a result, they had lost dozens of people the moment they entered the swamp. If they had high-grade black crystal aquatic grass to protect themselves, they would be able to survive. That's right. Each disciple gets 2. I still have 10 left. Senior sister Bailan, take them if you want to use them. Su Junqing readily took out the black crystal aquatic grass. 10 was obviously not enough. Bailan immediately cast her gaze on the low-grade disciples and ordered, "Take out the aquatic grass." The low-grade disciples on peak number 2 had a change in expression. They looked at Su Junqing, only to see him smiling mockingly. He had no intention of standing up for them. Clearly, he was still holding a grudge against them for not giving him face. "Do you want the grass or your life? Choose." Bailan raised her bone spear and aimed it at the low-grade disciples. The 300 or so high-grade disciples behind her also revealed ferocious expressions. They looked like they would snatch the grass at any moment of disagreement. "Senior Sister Bailan, let's talk this out. There's no need to resort to violence." Yun Jioga raised his black bone spear and stood in front of Bailan. "Junior brother Yunjio is going against us." Bailan narrowed her eyes, overflowing with killing intent. The black crystal aquatic grass was related to their lives. Even if they had to kill someone, they had to snatch it back. "Senior Sister Bailan, you misunderstand. We are all from the same sect, so we naturally have to help each other." Yun Jioga knew that falling out with Bailan would only result in both sides suffering. When that happened, the low-grade disciples would be the ones to suffer. He turned to the low-grade disciples and said, "Everyone, hand over the extra black crystal aquatic grass to me." This meant that he wanted to stand up for them. Here, Little Fatty and Ice Heart Lotus were the first to hand over their extra black crystal aquatic grass. The other disciples also handed in their weapons. They purposely kept the good ones and handed in the damaged ones. After Yun Jioga collected the black crystal aquatic grass, he counted the number of people on Bailan's side, and then took out the worst 350, handing it to Bailan. "This is a token of our mountain number 2's disciples' appreciation. Please accept it, Senior Sister." Yun Jioga emphasized the words all the disciples, Fatty, Ice Heart Lotus, and the rest stood behind her with wary expressions. The rank 2 disciples gripped the bone spears in their hands, looking like they were ready to fight to the death. Bailan narrowed her slender eyes and stared at Yun Jioga. The expression on Yun Jioga's devilish face was normal, and he was not at a disadvantage when confronting Bailan. "Senior Sister Bai, if you have something to use, then use it. Let's all take a step back. That way, it'll be easier for us to meet in the future." Yun Jioga said coldly. Evil disciples also had to pay attention to morality. The other party had already offered their benefits, but you still wanted to dig up the other party's secrets. Don't blame the other party for risking their lives. Fine, you win. Bailan evaluated the strength of the two sides and found that she did not have the advantage. She could only fiercely take out the black crystal aquatic grass. Senior Sister Bai is too polite. Yun Jioga did not care about Bailan's anger at all. Bailan distributed the black crystal aquatic grass. The disciples with high cultivation bases took the best, and the disciples with low cultivation bases took the worst. The remaining disciples of the third peak had the lowest cultivation base, at the third level of Qi disciple. There were a few of them who secretly looked at the low-level disciples of the second peak, clearly not having good intentions. The low-level disciples had been moving in a group the entire time, but seeing these evil gazes, they hugged even tighter. Bailan did not care about the actions of these disciples. She enviously said to Su Junqing, "Your Yin corpse is really not bad. If it wasn't for Yi Yunji spitting out the Yin spirit cold qi to scare away those armored alligators, another group of disciples of the third peak would have died. It would be great if she could have a Yin corpse like this. Senior Sister is too kind." Su Junqing humbly said, "I heard that she has a little brother called Yi Yu?" Bailan lowered her voice. This news was not a secret in the Yin corpse sect. Many people had secretly gone to the Thunder Country to find Yi Yu. It was a pity that none of them succeeded. It was said that he went with Yun Jioga to the 10,000 mountains to find an opportunity. That's right. Su Junqing nodded. I heard that blood-related people have the easiest physique. You are most familiar with the Yi clan. Why don't you tell Senior Sister some information? Senior Sister won't forget your kindness. Bailan said with a charming gaze. Senior Sister, it's not that I don't want to help you. It's that I don't know where Yi Yu went. Su Junqing had a helpless expression. He already knew that the chances of him taking down Yi Yu was very small. This was because even Elder Emohua had sent people to the 10,000 mountains to find him. The two of them were focused on their conversation and didn't notice that Yi Yunji's eyes flashed with a sharp light. Her red sleeves were tightly clenched. Yun Jioga had been secretly paying attention to Yi Yunji's movements, so he naturally noticed her abnormality. It seemed that Yi Yu was indeed Yi Yunji's reverse scale. Even though the power of the treasure map had been sealed, it still affected her. Yun Jioga was afraid that Su Junqing would notice Yi Yunji's abnormality, so he hurriedly said, "Everyone is almost done resting, let's get ready to set off." "Junior brother Su, there aren't many disciples left on both sides, why don't we join together?" Bailan took the initiative to suggest to Su Junqing. The remaining disciples on peak number 3 were all high-level disciples. After joining peak number 2, they would naturally be able to crush those low-level disciples. Su Junqing was about to agree when he heard Yun Jioga say, "There's no need. You go your own way, I'll go mine. It's best if we don't interfere with each other." "Why are you in charge of peak number 2 now?" Bailan raised her brows and glanced at Su Junqing. Before Su Junqing could say anything, all the disciples on peak number 2 responded in unison. "We'll listen to senior brother Yin Jioga." Su Junqing's earlier actions had already bitterly disappointed them, not to mention that Yin Jioga had helped them through this entire journey. No wonder. "Senior sister Bai, as you can see, I've been robbed of my power." Su Junqing laughed coldly, but he was in no hurry. The true danger of the little secret realm was with the human face peach. Even if Yin Jioga took the position of leader, he would not be able to deal with it. "Junior brother Yin Jioga is really bold, but I like it." Bailan threw a no at Yin Jioga. After relieving her worries, she was finally in the mood to flirt with men. Yin Jioga faced her coldly and did not reply. He called for Ice Heart Lotus, Little Fatty, and the rest to prepare to set off. "Junior brother Yin Jioga, are you really not coming with us?" Bailan asked, unwilling to give up. She also could not understand why junior brother Yin Jioga would be so protective of those low-level disciples when they were all trash. Yin Jioga used his actions to express himself, leading the disciples on peak number 2 in another direction and leaving. Chapter 324. Tisk, junior brother Su sure has a good temper. Are you really going to let an outer disciple walk all over your head like that? Bailan felt that Su Junqing was really a coward. He couldn't even watch over the disciples he was leading. What else could he do? Picking the human-faced peaches is the most important thing. When the time comes, he'll understand. Su Junqing laughed coldly. That's true. Bailan looked at the disciples behind her. She didn't know how many of them would survive the last round. After Yin Jioga and the rest left Su Junqing and Bailan, they successfully left the Death Swamp and arrived at the Human Face Mountain. The Human Face Mountain was hundreds of zhang tall. The mountain rocks were black with traces of blood. From afar, it looked like the face of a man in deep thought. It was a rather handsome man's face. The Human Face peach forest grew on the top of the man's face, which was the peak. Everyone be careful. Yin Jioga had thought that climbing the mountain would be another adventure. He didn't expect to reach the peak so smoothly. A cool breeze blew. At a glance, there was a lush peach forest. These peach trees weren't tall, and their leaves weren't lush. However, they were quite good at fruit. Green peaches the size of a human head hung from the branches. They didn't seem to be fully ripe yet. When Yin Jioga and the rest entered the peach forest, the originally quiet peach trees seemed to be startled awake. Following that, the peaches all trembled slightly. Faces appeared on them, opening their eyes and looking at them greedily. Among them were wrinkled old men and women, young men and women with smooth skin, and adorable little children. Although there were all kinds of faces, all of them had a ferocious expression. They looked at Yin Jioga and the rest like they were looking at prey. These peaches look so disgusting. Lu Tian'er had a look of disgust. She couldn't imagine how she was going to swallow them. Senior brother Yunjio, should we pick them now? Little Fatty didn't find it disgusting. As long as it was helpful for cultivation, he could swallow it no matter how disgusting it was. However, these human-faced peaches were mainly for eating corpses. Living people couldn't eat them. Everyone check the surroundings carefully. See if there are any demonic beasts guarding. Yunjoga felt that this human face peach forest wouldn't be so simple. She led little Fatty, Ice Heart Lotus and company around twice, but did not discover any traces of demonic beasts nearby. The entire peach forest was even quieter than a graveyard. Senior brother Yunjio, the people from Peak 1, Peak 4, and Peak 5 are here, Lu Mayer said, pointing at the foot of the mountain. Yunjioga walked over to take a look, and saw that a large group of outer court disciples had already arrived at the foot of the mountain and were preparing to climb up. Senior brother Yunjio, let's hurry up and pick the peaches, little Fatty said anxiously. Otherwise, it would be another round of fighting once the other disciples arrived. There's no rush. I'll try picking one first. Yunjioga took the lead. She first summoned 3 bone spikes and placed them around her body. Then, she carefully walked towards the human face peach. Finally, she chose one that looked like a beautiful peach and slowly stretched out her hand. Pa! Before she could even touch the peach, she was hit by a stone. Yunjioga turned his head to look and saw a figure standing on the peach tree. He had gray hair and gray eyes, and there was a drop of blood between his eyebrows. He was beautiful yet strange. Who else could it be but Teacher Zishang? Reaching out to pick it? You're too daring. Zishang came to Yunjioga's side and tried to grab her waist. Why are you here? Yunjioga slapped Zishang's hand away. This guy had mysteriously slipped away halfway. If he didn't give her an explanation, he wouldn't be able to get close to her. I found something good here. You'll definitely like it. Zishang blinked his gray eyes, looking as if he wanted to know. How do you know I'll like it? Yunjioga rolled her eyes. If you want to say it, then don't. Are you really not going to ask? These human face peaches are very interesting. Zishang continued to tempt her. Such a large peach forest is right here. Can't I find it myself? Why would I ask you? If he couldn't find it, then so be it. In any case, she wouldn't let Zishang do as he wished. TSK, little Joga is getting less and less cute. Zishang shook his head. This girl was getting harder and harder to please. It's better if you don't love me. Yunjioga was so focused on bickering with Zishang that she forgot that little Fatty and Ice Heart Lotus were bitterly waiting for her to pick the peaches. Senior brother Yunjio can't be possessed, right? Ice Heart Lotus said worriedly. Don't worry. I'll try using a big move. Little Fatty was an impatient person. He immediately raised his mountain bone spike and flew towards Yunjioga. Yunjioga subconsciously released a gray light, sending little Fatty's mountain bone spike flying. Plop! The peach on the head of an old man with a face full of wrinkles fell to the ground after being cut off by the mountain bone spike. Yunjioga was about to pick it up when Zishang pulled her back. The next moment, the old man's eyes turned blood red. He flew towards little Fatty at an unbelievable speed. Be careful! Ice Heart Lotus pushed little Fatty away and raised her frostbone spike. She had been condensing ice to help everyone on their journey. Her speed had also been trained. The cold air instantly froze the old man's head. F***CK, what kind of freaking peach is this? It can even fly. Little Fatty still had a lingering fear. He felt that the peach was no better than a demonic beast. Just as he finished speaking, Ice Heart Lotus suddenly shouted. Not good. The human face peach actually broke through the ice seal and pounced on a low-level disciple. It opened its bloody mouth and bit down. That low-level disciple didn't even have time to scream before he was sucked dry and turned into a piece of human skin. After the old man's head sucked its fill of flesh and blood, it closed its eyes. Its expression became incomparably peaceful. The greenish-white skin turned bright red, and a ripe fragrance wafted out. Is this why you didn't let me pick the peach? Yunjioga's expression was solemn. She didn't expect that the ripe human face peach would actually devour a person's flesh and blood. That's right. Zishang nodded. Senior brother Yunjio, this peach is too evil. The Lu sisters looked at the densely packed faces in the peach forest. They only felt their stomachs churning. It was incomparably disgusting. Jean Lin, what's going on with me? Yunjioga looked at little Fatty. She didn't believe that little Fatty didn't know the truth behind the human face peach. I really didn't know that this human face peach could actually eat people. My uncle only said that every year when the outer sect disciples enter the little secret realm, they have to pick 500 human-faced peaches. If they don't pick enough, they won't be able to open the little secret realm. Little Fatty was so scared that his round face turned pale. His uncle had only given him a stack of defensive talismans and told him to take it easy and just hang on until the end. My sister-in-law also said the same thing. Ice Heart Lotus also had quite a number of defensive talismans on her. Yin Jyoga frowned. She finally understood why so many low-level disciples entered the little secret realm to pick human-faced peaches. They were using human lives to speed up the ripening of the peaches. The Yin Corpse sect was truly evil. They didn't care about human lives at all. Chapter 325. You weren't the one who let them in. Don't push the blame onto yourself. Zishang rubbed Yin Jyoga's head. As long as this little head was fine, nothing else mattered to him. You're not a good person either. Yin Jyoga glared at him. Of all the demons and ghosts, demons were indeed the worst. Just look at Zishang and you'll know. Zishang rubbed his nose and silently retreated to the side. A woman who liked to vent her anger on others was not to be trifled with. Wowu, senior brother Yinjio, we don't want to die. Many of the rank 2 disciples began to cry. They had gone through so much to get here. But they had not expected that they would become nourishment for the human-faced peaches. This was too cruel. Don't worry, I won't feed you to the human-faced peaches. These low-level disciples were from the same sect as her. They had always been cultivating honestly, and had never made any mistakes. They should not die here. That's not up to you to decide. A loud voice rang out from behind Yin Jyoga. Yin Jyoga turned around, and saw that Wolf Fong and the Han brothers had brought the outer sect disciples over. Although the 3 of them had encountered danger after entering the pocket dimension, they had always been cautious. Thus, their losses were not too great. Basically, each of them had left behind 500 disciples. Adding up to 1,500 people, they were able to completely crush Yin Jyoga's group. What is the meaning of this, senior brother Han? Yin Jyoga looked coldly at the incoming group. Where's senior brother Su? Han Xiaoxi did not answer the question. He looked left and right, and did not see Su Juanqing's figure. Could it be that he had died? That was impossible. That brat had obtained many benefits from Elder Mo Hua, and he also had the Yin corpses protecting him. Even if they all died, he would not die. Senior brother Su and senior sister Bai Lan are behind. Yin Jyoga replied lightly, then asked, how does senior brother Han plan to pluck the human-faced peaches? She did not believe that the disciples behind the Han brothers would be willing to die. Hee. Han Xiaoxi glanced at Yin Jyoga, and the rest with a malicious look. Naturally, the weaklings will go first. What he meant was that he wanted to force Yin Jyoga and the rest to go first, so that they could sit back and reap the benefits. Dream on. Ice Heart Lotus was enraged. Frostbone Spikes burst out with Yin Qi. Little Fatty and the Lu sisters also took out their bone spears. Junior apprentice brother Bing, junior apprentice brother Jin Lin, junior apprentice brother Yun Jio, and junior apprentice sister Lu. There's no need to be so angry. The weaklings I'm talking about aren't you guys. Why don't you all come over to our side? When the time comes, everyone will hand over the human-faced peaches together, and the sect will split the rewards together. Han Xiaoxi chuckled, planning to split Bing Xinlian and the others up. The disciples of peak number 2 became nervous. They were afraid that Ice Lotus and senior brother Yun Jio would really abandon them. Yin Jyoga nodded and said, senior martial brother Han is right, the weak go first. Senior brother Ninth Cloud. Ice Heart Lotus widened her eyes in disbelief. She could not believe that the person she admired would be so heartless. Yin Jyoga ignored him and continued to speak to Han Xiaoxi. So, you guys go first. What? Han Xiaoxi thought he had misheard. Didn't you say that weaklings go first? Yin Jyoga raised his eyebrows and glanced at him with disdain. Then why don't you hurry up and go in to pick the peaches? Before Han Xiaoxi could regain his senses, the disciples of peak number 2 were already cheering. Ice Heart Lotus and Little Fatty even pointed their middle fingers at Han Xiaoxi excitedly. Coward weakling, you guys go first. I say, junior brother Ninth Cloud. Are you blind or did a donkey kick you in the head? Can't you tell who's the weak one? Han Xiaoxi was so angry that he laughed. Ignoring the strength of the two brothers and Wolf Fang, the disciples behind them had all been eliminated through several dangerous situations. Even the weakest among them was Qi Refinement Level 3, and their battle abilities were very strong. Although there were more than 700 disciples on peak number 2, more than half of them were Stage 2 disciples. How could they fight against them? Of course, Yin Jioge was not kicked by a donkey. At that moment, Zishang was squatting on a tree not far from Wolf Fang and the Han brothers. With a single command from her, she could chop off their heads and feed them peaches. However, Yin Jioge did not want to do that. She took out her bone spear and said to the Han brothers, "We'll know who's stronger after a battle." "All right, then let us fight you." Han Xiaodong jumped out first. 2 against 1. Aren't you too shameless? Ice Heart Lotus said angrily. We brothers have always fought together. If you're afraid of death, just admit defeat. Although Han Xiaodong looked like a butcher, he was actually very cunning and never underestimated his enemies. No matter who he faced, he would fight together with his brothers. Senior brother Ninth Cloud, I'll fight with you. Ice Heart Lotus pulled out her bone spear, looking full of fighting spirit. There's no need. Stand down. Yin Jioge had her own reasons for challenging the Han brothers. She was not acting on impulse. Junior brother Ninth Cloud, you have guts. Han Xiaodong gave a thumbs up. Before he finished his sentence, a bone spear that looked like a dog beating stick smashed towards her face. Han Xiaoxi also took out his bone spear to seal off Yin Jioge's path. The two brothers attacked without even saying a word. They were extremely despicable. If it were anyone else, they would have fallen for it. Thankfully, Yin Jioge was prepared. With a wave of her psychedelic bone spear, a black mist instantly spread and covered her figure. The Han brothers immediately became cautious when their attacks missed. They immediately recalled their bone spears and carefully examined the black mist in front of them. Zishang, come in. Yin Jioge silently called out to the mark. What's the matter? Zishang jumped into the black mist from the tree. When I attack later, help me hold the Han brothers in place. However, don't let them notice anything amiss. Yin Jioge did not have time to waste with the two brothers. She had to strike them with one strike and completely scare them. However, she could not do it with her current strength. She could only ask Zishang for help. Where's the reward? Yin Jioge had not asked him for help in a long time. He would be a fool if he did not seize the opportunity to ask for the reward. For you. Yin Jioge generously wrapped her arms around Zishang's neck and kissed him on tiptoe. Zishang's left hand embraced her waist and deepened the kiss while his right hand groped her body. The Han brothers never expected their opponent to be in the mood to hide in the black mist and kiss in such a tense battle atmosphere. Furthermore, his actions were getting more and more erotic. Xiaoxi, why don't we force our way in? Han Xiaodong looked at the calm black mist solemnly. The bone spear in his hand shone with a cold light. Back when he and his younger brother wandered about, they were chased by people and dogs. They had suffered countless hardships. So when he was refining his bone spear, he subconsciously refined a dog-beating stick. Let's go. Han Xiaoxi nodded without hesitation. Chapter 326. The Han brothers were tough. No matter what kind of strong opponent they faced, they would always attack, and attack. Not to mention that their current opponent was only an outer disciple at the third stage of Qi disciple. If they still cowered like this, wouldn't they be a laughing stock? The two brothers raised their bone spikes at the same time and attacked the black mist one after the other. Inside the black mist, Yin Jioge was dizzy from Zishang's kisses and was desperately trying to push his chest away. This guy was really insatiable. She just wanted to kiss him once, and he actually stuck his tongue in. Now, he was still hugging her tightly and wouldn't let go. Now that the Han brothers were here, what did he want? Zishang was addicted to kissing her and couldn't bear to let her go. His left hand tightened, and his right hand waved casually. The black mist from the bone spikes expanded and instantly engulfed the Han brothers. Then Yin Jioge's 4 bone spikes, Bone Breaker, Hallucination, Venom and Bloodthirst, shot out terrifying rays of light and sent the Han brothers flying. The Han brothers fell face down and dug 2 deep ditches in the ground. Finally, they crashed into the rock wall and fainted. Silence. Deathly silence. Ice Heart Lotus and Fatty's cheers were stuck in their throats. The Lu sisters' eyes widened, and they looked like they were about to explode. Wolf Fong stared at the 4 bone spikes hovering above the black mist. Although they were beyond recognition, he could still recognize them as the Gale Wolf Bone he sold to the mysterious masked man. So this junior brother Yun Jiu was the expert who helped him remove the poison. Wolf's deep eyes stared at the black fog that was constantly rolling. Although he couldn't see anything, he could imagine the devilishly beautiful junior brother, Yun Jiu, standing there in high spirits. High spirits. This was a huge misunderstanding. Yun Jiuge was kissed so hard that she wanted to bang her head against the wall. She could tolerate having sex with Zishang in the wild, in a cave, or even with a horse. But she couldn't tolerate having sex in front of thousands of people. Although the black mist was blocking it, it was still very embarrassing. Fortunately, Zishang knew Yun Jiuge's bottom line. Although he felt that there was nothing wrong with having a round of dual cultivation here, he did not dare to really anger Yun Jiuge. In the end, he reluctantly let go of her. F***CK, this old lady is begging you again. Stab my eyes and break my little dick. Yun Jiuge fiercely wiped her mouth. Even if she had to fight the Han brothers to the end, it would be better than being trampled on by him. Keep your eyes. You can cut them when they grow out. Zishang laughed like a cat that had stolen a fish. Laugh your ass. Yun Jiuge glared at him. After retrieving the psychedelic bone spike, the black fog immediately dissipated. Senior brother Yun Jiu, are you alright? The Lu sisters, Ice Heart Lotus, and Little Fatty immediately surrounded him. I'm fine. Yun Jiuge tried to put on a cold expression. Fortunately, her face was bewitching enough. After kissing for a long time, her light purple lips only turned dark purple. It was impossible to tell that she had been kissed forcefully. Did you see that? Our senior brother Yun Jiu is not afraid of you. If you dare to call us weak, we'll beat you to death. Little Fatty shouted arrogantly. Junior brother Yun Jiu, according to the sex mission, we must pluck 2,500 human face peaches from all 5 peaks. Otherwise, the exit of the little secret realm will not open, and we will be trapped here until we die. Wolf Fong said calmly. If possible, he did not want to send his fellow disciples to their deaths. But the sex orders could not be disobeyed. If they did, they would all die together. I didn't say that we won't pluck the human face peaches. Yun Jiuge just did not want to use the lives of his disciples. Then what do you mean? Wolf Fong could tell that this junior brother Yun Jiu was not a foolish person. Could it be that he really had a good idea? These human face peaches need to be fed with flesh and blood to ripen. But it doesn't have to be our flesh and blood. If we can find other demonic beasts, we can do the same. This was Yun Jiuge's plan. There were many demonic beasts in the Death Swamp and Lizard Grassland. If they were used to feed them, they could similarly ripen the human face peaches. Catching demonic beasts would only result in more deaths than plucking the human face peaches. Wolf Fong felt that this idea was simply wishful thinking. At that time, if the disciples died and the demonic beasts could not be caught, that would be a double loss. As long as we can grasp the right method, there won't be too many casualties. I can guarantee that there will be fewer deaths than now. Yun Jiuge naturally dared to say such words because he was confident. What idea do you have? Zishang and Wolf Fong asked at the same time. I have a beast drawing pill here that can attract demonic beasts over. At that time, we can set up a trap and capture them easily. Yun Jiuge felt that this was the best idea. Senior brother Yun Jiu, this is a good idea. Right, I think so too. Catching demonic beasts is better than killing our fellow disciples. That's not true. No one wants to die. If you force me to pluck those disgusting peaches, I'll fight it out with you. Not only were the disciples of the second peak tempted, even the disciples behind Wolf Fong and the Han brothers were tempted. 2,500 human-faced peaches. Even if all the disciples of the second peak were sacrificed, that would only be 700 or so. The remaining 1,800 would still have to be filled with their lives. No one wanted to die. Fine, I agree. Wolf Fong nodded his head in agreement. He had already decided that Yun Jioge was the expert who had saved him. He would take advantage of the opportunity to curry favor with him in the future. That's good. We'll go down and kill 2 demonic beasts later, to see if we can hasten the ripening of the human face peaches. If these human face peaches only ate fresh corpses, that would be troublesome. There's no need for you to personally kill 2 demonic beasts. I can just send a few people down. When Wolf Fong made up his mind to curry favor with someone, he was truly meticulous in every aspect. Other than the lizard grassland and death swamp, which were more dangerous, the other places were still very safe. Killing 2 demonic beasts was not a difficult task. Wolf Fong sent 10 high-level disciples down to kill the demonic beasts, and woke the Han brothers up. Kill. The moment Han Xiaodong regained consciousness, the bone spear in his hand shot out. Han Xiaoxi did the same. Even if the 2 brothers were to die, they would drag someone down with them. Wolf Fong nimbly dodged their attacks, and sent a kick over. Wake up, everything's fine now. Everything's fine now? Han Xiaoxi opened his eyes and saw that Yun Jioge was still standing not far away. He immediately jumped up in alarm. Junior apprentice brother Yun Jio has a beast drawing pill. He said that it would be more convenient to catch demonic beasts to feed the human face peaches. Wolf Fong briefly explained the situation. So that's how it is. What a great idea. Han Xiaoxi's expression immediately changed as he praised Yun Jio vigorously. After being sent flying by Yun Jioge, they had already listed him as someone they could not afford to provoke. They immediately lowered their pride and tried to curry favor with him. Moreover, they also felt that this method was the best. This time, more than half of the disciples from the various peaks had died in the secret realm. It would not be easy to gather 2,500 human face peaches. After all, no one wanted to die. At that time, there would be a chaotic battle. If they could really use demonic beasts to feed the human face peaches, it would save them a lot of trouble. Just as everyone was talking, the disciples who had gone out to look for demonic beasts returned with 2 armored crocodiles. Bai Lan, Su Junqing, and the rest also came with them. Chapter 327. Junior brother Yun Jio is truly capable to think of such a good idea. Bai Lan was beginning to admire this junior brother, Yun Jio, more and more. Not only was he extraordinarily handsome, he was also extraordinarily intelligent, and had a high cultivation base. He was definitely the #1 choice for a Dao companion. Bai Lan, who had only ever played with Yun Jio for one night, was actually tempted to become Dao companions with him. Su Junqing could vaguely sense Bai Lan's thoughts. His jealousy intensified, and his desire to kill intensified. Yi Yunji seemed to have sensed his thoughts, and a sharp glint flashed across her empty eyes. Cut the crap, hurry up and give it a try. The Han brothers hurriedly called for the disciples to bring the carcasses of the armored crocodiles over, and then placed them before Yun Jioge fawningly. Junior brother Yun Jio, I'll have to trouble you. Yun Jioge did not decline. She drew a line on the carcasses of the 2 armored crocodiles, before throwing them into the peach forest. Then, she directed the bone spears to cut off the peaches from the 2 children's heads, and let them land on the carcass. The eyes of the 2 children immediately turned bloodshot, and they pounced towards the smell of blood, sucking the carcass dry in an instant. Finally, they closed their eyes and matured peacefully. With a wave of his hand, Yun Jioge summoned the 2 human face peaches back. After a careful look, he passed them down to Wolf Fong and the Han brothers for inspection. It works. Wolf Fong confirmed that the carcasses could also mature the human face peaches. The Han brothers nodded in agreement. That's great. The Lu sisters held each other's hands excitedly. Being able to avoid a chaotic battle was also a great benefit to them. The lower-level disciples let out enthusiastic cheers, as if they could already see the light of victory. Junior brother Yun Jio, then you should start sending out the beast-attracting incense now. Wolf Fong's intention was for the various peaks to act separately. The sooner they plucked the human face peaches, the sooner they could leave this godforsaken place and report to the sect about the changes in the little secret realm. The Han brothers also expressed their agreement. There was no need for an alliance at this point, so it was best for them to go their separate ways. Junior brother Yun Jio, The remaining disciples of each peak are different now. It's too unfair for each team to hand over 500 demonic beasts. Bailan had the fewest disciples left. She felt that it was not worth it to kill the same number of demonic beasts as the others. Junior brother Yunjiu, these are all low-level disciples. Why don't you say it's fair? Han Xiaoxi couldn't stand Bailan's haggling. That's right. That's why I think it's better to split the disciples from each team equally. That's the fairest way. Bailan wanted to use some low-level disciples from Peak 2 as cannon fodder. The disciples of Peak number 2 became nervous again. They were afraid that Yin Jioga would agree. After all, this suggestion sounded quite fair. There's no need to split them. We'll split them according to the number of people. Everyone will get one Yao beast. If someone hunts a lot of them, they can sell them to others. Yin Jioga didn't think that giving out his disciples would lessen the pressure. He might as well keep them all. That's fine too. Bailan immediately agreed. If they handed it over according to the number of people, the ones with higher cultivation would definitely have an advantage. Wolf Fang and the Han brothers did not say anything. This suggestion was more beneficial to them. At the very most, they could kill a few more beasts and give them to junior brother Yin Jiu as compensation. That way they could do him a favor. The beast-attracting incense I refined is very powerful. Every time I release one incense, it can attract over 100 demonic beasts. The beast-drawing incense that Yin Jioga refined did not look very eye-catching. It was black and only the size of a thumb. However, it was very useful. Once it was ignited, it would release a fragrance filled with the scent of a female. All the male beasts within a 2-mile radius would be attracted by the fragrance. Junior brother Yunjiu, don't worry. We definitely won't waste these beast-drawing incenses. The Han brothers stared at the beast-drawing incense without blinking. Junior brother Yunjiu's pills. What else do we have to doubt? Bailan extended her hand towards Yin Jioga with a smile. This beast-drawing incense is made from the essence blood of a female fragrant beast. You know that this female fragrant beast is worth 1,000 spirits. That bit of essence blood is not easy to get. Yin Jioga played with the beast-drawing incense in his hand and refused to hand it over. Actually, she had only used a bit of the essence blood of the female fragrant beast to refine these pills. The rest was supplemented with medicinal herbs, so the cost was not high. However, it was impossible for her to give it to these people for free. Junior brother Yunjiu, how much do you intend to sell it for? Wolf Fang asked directly. Junior brother, we are not rich. You can just collect as much as you want, the Han brothers said bitterly. It's fine if it's too expensive. We can't afford it. Bailan was also reluctant to spend this money. We are all disciples of the same sect. Why would I take your money? The cost price is 1,000 spirit jade each. This price was considered fair. Yin Jioga was only earning half of it. We will take 5. Wolf Fang took out 5,000 spirit jade without hesitation. Senior brother Wolf Fang is really straightforward. I admire you. Yin Jioga was in a good mood as he handed over 5 beast-drawing incense. Wolf Fang took the incense and checked it. After confirming that there were no problems, he said to the disciples behind him, everyone split it equally. 100 spirit jade per person. At this moment, there were more than 500 disciples left on Peak 1. Wolf Fang could still earn some hard work if each of them were to pay 100 spirit jade. 100 spirit jade was not expensive. These disciples were all convinced. The Han brothers and Bailan followed suit, and each bought 3 beast-drawing incense from Yin Jioga. Then, they each took 100 spirit jade from their subordinates. On Peak 2, Little Fatty had already taken the initiative to help Yin Jioga and his disciples collect the spirit jade. Some low-level disciples who did not bring enough spirit jade would use contribution points or other materials as collateral. The atmosphere was very lively. Su Junqing naturally did not have the qualifications to take the beast-drawing incense. Everyone had already tacitly agreed that the leader of Peak 2 was Yin Jioga. Su Junqing's thumbnail pierced deeply into his palm. He kept telling himself to endure. When the human face peaches ripened, he would definitely let these fellows know his prowess. Yi Yunji stood beside him. A sharp glint flashed in her eyes. Junior brother Yinjiu, I will go to the north. Bailan said after keeping the spirit jade. The east was the lizard grassland, and the south was the death swamp. The west and north were much safer in comparison. I will go to the east. The evil weapons in Wolf Fang's storage bag had a suppressive effect on the blood earth dragons in the lizard grassland. Junior brother Yinjiu, where are you going? Han Xiaoxi asked carefully. Although they had more people and higher cultivation, they should be going to the death swamp. But junior brother Yinjiu might have other plans. I will go to the south. Yinjiu's side had more than 700 people. They needed the most demonic beasts. They did not know what the situation was like in the west. The death swamp was more abundant in demonic beasts. Moreover, with Zishang protecting them, she felt that there would not be any big problems. Zishang patted her head in approval. Good job. Although Yun Jioga did not know why Zishang was so enthusiastic, he felt more at ease. Chapter 328. Junior brother Yinjiu is indeed righteous. Han Xiaodong gave him a thumbs up, looking like he was impressed. However, it was unknown how much sincerity was in his words. Senior brother Han, you flatter me. Yun Jioga replied plainly, then said to the crowd, let's meet here in 5 days. 5 days was enough time to kill the demon beasts. Most importantly, the mystic realm would open in 10 days, so they had to prepare in advance. All right. The people of Wolfang sect nodded and bade farewell. Yun Jioga led the disciples of peak number 2 towards the east. Senior brother Yunjiu, can we really kill that many demon beasts? Lu Tian'er was not confident. There were too many low-level disciples here. A few armored crocodiles could kill them all. You'll know when the time comes. There was no use in talking. Facts spoke for themselves. After Yun Jioga led the people down the mountain, they began searching for a suitable place to set the trap. It has to be about 1 kilometer away from the death swamp. It's best if it's not too flat and empty. Yun Jioga briefly explained the requirements of the trap. Little Fatty and Ice Heart Lotus immediately began searching. Unfortunately, the spots they found were not ideal. This is not bad. Zishang walked around and finally chose a light brown marsh. Yun Jioga went over to take a look. The marsh was about half an acre wide and 1 person deep. It was diagonal to the death swamp. It was exactly 1 kilometer away, and there were many weeds and rocks around it. The armored crocodiles would need to spend some effort to climb over. It was a very good spot. Let's set the trap here. Yun Jioga was very satisfied with the marsh. She gathered the disciples of peak number 2 and arranged them into 5 teams according to their elemental attributes. As the Yin Qi was of the earth attribute, the disciples with the earth attribute were the most. There were more than 300 of them. The next most were the ones with the wood attribute. There were also more than 200 of them. There were more than 100 metal, water and fire attribute spiritual roots. Ice Heart Lotus was the only one with the ice attribute. Senior brother Yin Jiu, these armored crocodiles have thick skin and extremely high defense. It's very difficult for our attacks to penetrate their skin. Lu Meier spoke from the bottom of her heart. The bone spikes of these rank 2 disciples were the ones given by the sect. They had very low attack power. It would take 100 people to kill 1 armored crocodile. Gathering 700 would be a huge problem. The armored crocodiles have high defense, but their spirit power is very weak. We just need to destroy their consciousness. Yun Jioga had naturally researched the weaknesses of the armored crocodiles. How are we going to destroy his consciousness? The disciples looked at each other, feeling as if they were listening to a heavenly book. Everyone should have learned the corpse control curse before, right? Yun Jioga asked. Yun said. The Lu sisters nodded. This corpse control incantation was the Yin corpse sect's most basic incantation, and could be exchanged for with 10 contribution points. Although most of the disciples did not refine their own Yin corpses, they would still learn this incantation, hoping that one day they would be able to find a good Yin corpse, and walk on the path of being able to call the wind and call the rain. But the one controlling the 7th ant was the Black Fiend sect. These low-level disciples couldn't compare to them. They needed to use a special method. Disciples with the same spirit roots, split into groups of 10. Then practice using the corpse control curse, like how we attacked the Een ghosts. As long as these disciples could meet this requirement, they could increase the corpse control curse's power by 5 times. Killing the armored crocodiles wouldn't be a problem. This method sounded simple, but it required a high level of cooperation and absolute trust. These low-level disciples would go to the Een Chi cemetery every day after entering the sect, so their cooperation was very good. With Yin Jyoga's protection, he didn't have to worry about being stabbed in the back. That was how he met the requirements. Okay. The Lu sisters and Little Fatty felt that Yin Jyoga's idea was reliable, and immediately became excited. They all had earth spirit roots, so they each formed a group of 10. This was the fastest and had the best results. The other disciples followed suit, and quickly got into the zone. Then what do we need to do? Ice Heart Lotus wasn't willing to be a wallflower on the side. You guys are in charge of guarding the side. When the time comes, we'll need to rely on your frost chi to control the armored crocodile's movements. Yin Jyoga also gave Ice Heart Lotus a task. He wanted her to lead the remaining disciples in charge of defense. No problem. Ice Heart Lotus readily agreed. The Frost Een Chi Palm was a routine they were used to, so it was very easy to organize. But the most important thing now is to set up this trap. Yin Jyoga led the disciples to widen and deepen the depression. Then he took out a bunch of gray stones and a bunch of yellow weeds. Isn't this gray stone and dry yellow grass? What does senior brother, Yin Jyo, plan on doing with them? Ice Heart Lotus had done some research on herbs and ores. Put some into the depression to add some ingredients to the armored crocodiles. Yin Jyoga said while organizing. These 2 herbs and ores were discovered by pill masters. Unfortunately, they didn't have much use in alchemy. In the end, they were only used to glue stones together when building houses and walls for nobles. Yin Jyoga got the fire spirit root disciple to melt all the gray stones. Then, he mixed it with the dry yellow grass and slowly poured it into the depression. The calm depression immediately started to bubble. The already sticky soil became even thicker and even more sticky. No matter how strong the armored crocodiles were, they wouldn't be able to climb out of the depression easily. Alright, everyone hide. I'm going to release the beast attracting incense. Attack together when I give the order. Yin Jyoga ordered. All the disciples immediately split into groups of 10 and spread out. These low-level disciples didn't have much attack power, but they were very good at hiding. Many of them even brought concealment equipment in their storage bags. In an instant, the empty wasteland was filled with rocks of all sizes and lush saplings. It was difficult to hide from high-level cultivators with these crude disguises, but it was not a problem for them to hide from the armored crocodiles. Yin Jyoga also stabbed his 4-bone spikes into the ground and released Een Chi to hide his human scent. She waited for all the disciples to hide before lighting up the beast attracting incense in front of the depression. Green smoke curled up and spread out with a fishy and sweet smell. This beast attracting incense is not bad, right? Yin Jyoga asked Zishang confidently. Zishang took a sniff and shook his head. The smell is just SOSO. No way. Yin Jyoga also went forward to take a sniff. It smelled really good. Although it was her first time lighting it, in theory, it shouldn't be a problem to attract beasts. Chapter 329. I'm far inferior to you. When I smell your fragrance, let alone 2 miles, I'll even run 2,000 miles to come over. Zishang's eyes curved, and his smile rippled. Damn, he was comparing her to a mother beast. If I can get you to scram 2,000 miles away, I'll be even happier. Yin Jyoga wished he could stuff the beast attracting incense into Zishang's nostrils. Be serious. The armored crocodiles are coming. Zishang immediately changed the topic. A shadow appeared in the distance. Many armored crocodiles were ready to seek a mate. When they were close enough, Yin Jyoga threw the beast attracting incense into the small depression. Those armored crocodiles that were faster than the others rushed into the small depression, without any regard for their own safety. The muddy water at the front was relatively thin, but the deeper they went, the more solid it became. Soon, the armored crocodiles could no longer swim. However, the armored crocodiles behind them continued to push forward. trampling the armored crocodiles in front of them. Seeing more and more armored crocodiles appear in the small depression, the Lu sisters, Little Fatty, and the others all became nervous. Much better. Why aren't you moving? Fatty lowered his voice and asked the Lu sisters. There were at least 80 armored crocodiles that had entered the marsh. Wait a little longer. Lu Tian'er stared at Yin Zhuge's back. Yin Zhuge waited until 100 armored crocodiles entered the small depression before giving the order to attack. The Lu sisters and Little Fatty immediately led the disciples and chanted the corpse controlling incantation towards the small depression. Although the corpse control curse could guide the disciples' thoughts to attack the armored crocodile, whether or not it would succeed depended on the contest of consciousness. With the current cultivation of a low-level disciple, it was impossible for him to control an armored crocodile on his own. However, they were in groups of 10, and they were fighting the armored crocodiles one after another, and the results were gradually showing. After being attacked by the corpse control curse, the armored crocodiles had a splitting headache. They desperately tried to escape, but unfortunately, they were firmly trapped in the mud. Lil Bing, stop the ones behind us. Yin Zhuge pointed at the 40 or so armored crocodiles crawling behind them. The depression in front had already been filled up by the armored crocodiles, so the armored crocodiles that came later could directly climb over the small depression. Ice Heart Lotus controlled the frostbone spikes to seal off the path of the armored crocodiles. The other disciples also hurriedly used their Frost-Een energy palms to assist. The movement of the 40 armored crocodiles immediately slowed down. Aren't you going to try using the corpse control curse on them? Zishang asked Yin Zhuge. My corpse control spell doesn't work either. Even though Yin Zhuge had learned the spell, she had never used it on a dead body, so she was not confident. Killing the fish with brute force was more suitable for her. You're someone with a 1,000-year-old corpse. How can you not do it? Zishang placed his palm on Yin Zhuge's back and said, close your eyes and try it. You will discover a different world. All right. Yin Zhuge trusted Zishang. She closed her eyes and started chanting the corpse control incantation. Incantations came out of her mouth one after another. At first she was a little jerky, but very quickly, a mysterious power came from Zishang's palm and entered her body. The scene before her turned white. The armored crocodiles were very conspicuous against the white background, like little black dots. The black light from the corpse control spell circled around them like big sharks looking for prey. Yin Zhuge subconsciously used the corpse control incantation to attack the little black dots. Pu. One by one, the black dots were destroyed by her. It felt like she had become a god, controlling the life and death of ants. She was even somewhat infatuated with this power. Her attacks became faster and faster. Soon, all the black dots were killed by her, but she was still not satisfied. However, Zishang had already retracted his power. Her divine sense had also returned to her body. Yin Zhuge slowly opened her eyes and saw the corpses of the armored crocodiles in front of her, as well as Ice Heart Lotus' shocked face. The disciples behind her were also looking at her, as if she was a monster. Back at the Human Face Mountain, Yin Zhuge had killed the Han brothers in one move. Although it had shocked them, everyone had attributed it to her awesome bone spurs and powerful skills. But now, Yin Zhuge did not use any external power. She only closed her eyes and chanted the corpse control incantation a few times, and killed the 40 armored crocodiles outside the depression. This was simply a miracle. Yin Zhuge was also shocked by the scene she had created. Originally, she had only planned to use the bone spurs to attack and kill as many as she could. She really did not expect to cause such a scene. Do you see this? This is the true essence of the Yin corpse sex cultivation method. If you can successfully understand it, it will become your ultimate weapon in the future. Zishang had put in a lot of effort. He had spent a lot of effort to lure Yin Zhuge into the Yin corpse sect, but she resisted the cultivation method here. She only wanted to cure the poison and leave. It was such a waste. Therefore, he deliberately used this move to shock Yin Zhuge. He hoped that she could discover the true essence of the Yin corpse sex cultivation method and focus on learning the Yin ghost corpse control technique. I don't know what will happen in the future. I only know that if you do this, The Yin Corpse sect will definitely use me as a great weapon to get rid of. When Yin Jioge thought of the bloody storm that would happen next, she really wanted to beat Zishang to death. We'll talk about it when the time comes. Ever since Zishang discovered the secret of the human face mountain, he changed his plan. He did not want Yin Jioge to keep a low profile anymore. He had enough of being invisible around Yin Jioge. He wanted to leave the mountain and cause trouble. He wanted to announce to everyone in the Yin Corpse sect that Yin Jioge was his. Alright, whatever you say. Yin Jioge did not care anymore. Even if the sky collapsed, Zishang would hold it up. Senior Yin Jio, what do we do with these armored crocodiles? Ice Heart Lotus walked over carefully and looked at Yin Jioge as if she was looking at a god. Just put them in a storage bag. Yin Jioge pulled himself together and said, after this batch, there were still 5 more batches. Now is not the time to relax. Ice Heart Lotus led the disciples to store the 40 or so armored crocodiles. Many of the armored crocodiles in the small depression were also killed. However, there were still many left. With the Lu sisters and Little Fatty's speed, there was still time to kill. Yin Jioge led Ice Heart Lotus and the other disciples to attack the armored crocodiles. Injuries would also weaken their soul power. They worked until the sky turned dark. The disciples of the second peak finally killed the armored crocodiles in the depression. They were so tired that they sat on the ground. This mental work was much harder than physical work. Furthermore, they had walked through the grasslands, swamps, and human face mountain today. If they did not rest, they would not be able to continue working. Everyone rest well tonight. We will continue working tomorrow. After Yin Jioge gave the order to rest, he brought Ice Heart Lotus to deal with the armored crocodiles in the depression. Chapter 330. The good thing about the depression made by the gray stone and dried yellow grass was that it could be restored to its original state with a sprinkle of spirit powder. But for safety, Yin Jioge still chanted the corpse control incantation around the depression, killing off the armored crocodiles that were not completely dead before scooping up the corpses. After dealing with the crocodile corpses, Yin Jioge had Ice Heart Lotus organize people to keep watch. The Lu sisters and Little Fatty with earth and with spirit roots were the main force of the work, so they had to rest well. The next morning, Yin Jioge led the group to set traps and kill again. They spent 3 days and finally killed more than 700 demonic beasts. Other than the armored crocodiles, there were also many high-level wolf corpses. These high-level wolf beasts were also attracted by the beast attraction incense. The moment they appeared, they killed a few disciples, scaring the disciples who were focused on chanting incantations. These high-level wolf beasts were cunning, strong spirit power, and fast. Some of the mentally weak disciples wanted to escape. The situation immediately went out of control, and even the armored crocodiles took the chance to charge. Seeing that the disciples were about to be wiped out, Yin Jioge could only summon the profound Yin White Bone Monkey, using Yin Qi to cover the low-level disciples. Then with Zishang's help, she used the corpse control incantation to kill the escaping armored crocodiles, and finally used Ice Heart Lotus to kill the high-level wolf beasts. She single-handedly turned the tide, exposing the profound Yin White Bone Monkey and her true cultivation. Once they got out, they would definitely attract the attention of the Yin Corpse sect elders. Yun Jiu Shixiang, don't worry, we will definitely tell them about the profound Yin White Bone Monkey. Little Fatty quickly swore, and the other disciples also promised not to reveal her secret. Yin Jioge didn't say anything, they were grateful, and of course wanted to help her keep the secret. But it was hard to say after they got out. It was very difficult to shut 700 mouths, but paper could not cover fire. The profound Yin White Bone Monkey would be exposed sooner or later, and she was already prepared. Let's go. Yin Jioge took the spoils and led the second peak disciples up the Human Face Mountain. When they came to the Human Face Peach Forest, they found that there was only Bai Lan, Su Junqing, and the third peak disciples. Their group had high cultivation, and with 2 leaders, their killing power was naturally shocking. But even so, they still lost a few experts. Seeing Yin Jioge and the others arrive so quickly, And with so many people, they were all very surprised. Junior brother Yunjio, have you gathered enough monster corpses? Bailan could not help but ask. Yunjioga nodded and glanced at Yi Yunji, who was standing behind Su Junqing. Seeing that her face was still expressionless and her eyes were lifeless, as if she had not regained her consciousness, he finally felt a little relieved. How did junior brother Yunjioga do it? Bailan felt that Yunjioga was either lying, or he really had a secret weapon. You still have the nerve to question someone else's unique secret technique? Aren't you a little too shameless? The Han brothers' voices suddenly rang out. The disciples under the two brothers did not suffer any losses. It seemed that things were going smoothly. Bailan was annoyed at the sight of the two brothers. She snorted coldly, and did not ask any more questions. Not long after, Wolf also brought people back. Although they were exhausted, they looked satisfied. It seemed that they had gained a lot. Since everyone is here, then let's properly calculate the gains from the monster corpses. The Han brothers called out. All right, then we'll start with you. Bailan wanted to see how much these two brothers had gained. Then we won't be polite. The Han brothers poured out the monster corpses from their storage bags. They had a total of 1,200 disciples on their two mountain peaks, and they had killed 1,500 monster corpses. There were all kinds of different species. Although they were mostly low-level monster corpses, this result was still not bad. Senior sister Bai, your team is filled with elites and senior brother Su has a life-eating corpse. He shouldn't be worse than us. The Han brothers looked at Bailan with provocative eyes. Humph. Bailan naturally would not be worse than the Han brothers. With 300 people, they had killed 500 monster corpses. Although they couldn't compare to the Han brothers, their quality was much better. Most of them were mid and high-level monster corpses. Next was Wolf Fang. They killed even more. 600 people killed 1,200. They were all blood earth dragons, and their corpses were as tall as small mountains. Like this, even if junior brother Yunjio is a bit lacking, it doesn't matter. Bailan said with a smile. It seems like everyone had a great harvest. Yunjioga opened his storage bag. It was exactly 720. Whether it was quantity or quality, Yunjioga's group was worse than the other peaks. But the second peak only had low-level disciples, so this result couldn't be any better. But although Wolf Fang and the Han brothers were surprised, they had made up their minds to be good friends with Yunjioga, so they didn't ask anything. Hurry up and ripen the human-faced peaches. Su Junqing couldn't help saying this. He couldn't wait any longer. All right, then let's hurry up and finish this matter. The Han brothers were also in a hurry to leave this damn place. They arranged for the disciples to throw the monster corpses into the peach forest. They bumped into many human-faced peaches along the way, but they all fell to the ground and ripened after swallowing the monster corpses. The Han brothers and Bailan's eyes were filled with envy. They had thought that they wouldn't be able to complete the sect's mission, but they never thought that there would be this many. If they brought these human-faced peaches back, they would definitely be rewarded by the sect. Yunjioga stood at the side, pretending to look at the peach forest, but she was actually sneaking glances at Su Junqing and Yi Yunji. She had originally planned to kill Su Junqing in the little dungeon, but Zishang had suddenly slipped away. She didn't dare to act rashly alone. Now that Zishang had finally returned, he was busy collecting the demonic beasts to ripen the human-faced peaches. Seeing that the human-faced peaches were about to ripen, it would be even more difficult to find a chance to deal with Su Junqing. Don't be anxious. Zishang saw Yunjioga's thoughts and placed a storage bag in her hand. What is this? Yunjioga asked curiously. A good thing that can open up the treasures. Follow me. Zishang said as he led Yunjioga out of the peach forest. At this time, the disciples were busy throwing the monster corpses. Wolf Fang, the Han brothers, Bailan, and Su Junqing stared at the ripe human-faced peaches on the ground, while keeping their eyes on their opponents. They were all worried that someone would snatch the peaches before them, so no one cared about Yunjioga's whereabouts. The Lu sisters noticed that Yunjioga had left, but they didn't say anything. Instead, they covered for her. After Zishang brought Yunjioga out of the peach forest, They turned here and there before arriving at an empty cave. Why did you bring me here? Yin Jioge looked at Zishang warily. That beast couldn't be thinking of dual cultivating here, right? Thinking about the tree hole in the Yinqi cemetery, it was indeed very possible. What nonsense are you thinking? Zishang stretched out his hand, wanting to touch Yin Jioge's face, but was slapped away by her. This place is not suitable for dual cultivation. You'd better give up on it. Chapter 331. Who said anything about dual cultivation? I brought you here to find treasures. Seeing Yin Jioge's face of disbelief, Zishang called out the treasure-seeking scorpion. The scorpion wiggled its fat body out of the sack on Yin Jioge's body. It asked Zishang naively, "What orders does the king have?" "Tell your master what treasures are here," Zishang said to the scorpion. "Yes." The scorpion landed on the ground and circled around the cave a few times. Finally it said doubtfully, "How come I don't smell treasures?" "What else do you have to say?" Yin Jioge looked at Zishang with disdain, thinking that he had exposed his plot. "Smell again." Zishang condensed a purple light on his finger and shot out a small hole in the ground. The scorpion crawled over and immediately waved its pincers excitedly. "Treasures, it really is treasures." "I was right." Zishang was very satisfied with the scorpion's performance. "Then how do we go down?" Yin Jioge's eyes lit up. It couldn't wait to find a secret passage in the cave. "Follow me." Zishang grabbed Yin Jioge's hand and stomped his foot. With a rumbling sound, a large hole appeared in the ground. Yin Jioge and Zishang fell in a straight line. The wind blew past her ears, blowing her hair into a straight line. The treasure-seeking scorpion quickly grabbed Yin Jioge's sleeve and landed safely with her. "Can you tell me in advance next time?" Yin Jioge's hair fell down, but her heart was still in her throat. "Sure. If he still remembered." "Master treasures." The scorpion waved its pincers and excitedly ate. Yin Jioge took out the bloodthirsty bone spike and looked forward through the hazy red light. Instantly she was shocked. This was an extremely wide cave. At this moment, there was a huge peach tree growing in the middle of the cave. The grayish-brown tree had a man's face on it. His facial features were deep and extremely handsome. His eyes were closed, and he looked exactly like the man in the human face mountain. "What the hell is this?" Yin Jioge asked with wide eyes. "This is the human face peach king." Zishang looked at the peach tree and couldn't help but lick his lips. This was a very nutritious thing. The human face peach king seemed to know that danger was approaching, and its branches couldn't help but sway a little. Peach king. But there are no peaches on his tree. Yin Jioge looked carefully at the bare branches. There weren't even any leaves, let alone peaches. "Very soon. Where's the storage pouch that I gave you earlier?" Zishang asked. Yin Jioge then passed the storage bag to Zishang. Zishang collapsed in front of the human face peach king, and the stench of blood immediately assaulted his senses. Inside the storage bag were the corpses of demonic beasts: blood earth dragon, armored crocodile, tiger, leopard, bear, lion, monkey. There were all kinds of breeds, and they piled up to the height of a small hill. There were even more than what Wolf Fong, the Han brothers, and the others had killed. "When did you get it?" Yin Jioge looked incredulous. She had been with Zishang the entire time just now, and she hadn't seen him make a move. "After investigating, I found out that this guy is about to mature, so I went out for a stroll and helped him collect some food." As Zishang spoke, he spoke to the human face peach king, as if he was coaxing a child. "Come, good child, eat quickly." The peach king didn't open its mouth. It was obvious that if it ate all the food, it would become food. "If you cooperate obediently, I can still spare your little life. Otherwise." Zishang turned hostile, and his tyrannical appearance was simply terrifying. The branch of the peach king trembled, but it still didn't move. Zishang narrowed his gray eyes, and a savage purple light appeared in his eyes. His white fingers emitted a faint purple mist, which gradually turned into 5 long sharp blades. The peach king's entire body trembled. In front of Zishang, it was as pitiful as a little lamb. Yin Jioge originally didn't want to care about this matter, but he suddenly received a pitiful will from the peach king. "Please save me." "Wait." Yunjuga's heart stirred, and he hurriedly pulled Zishang's hand. If you force it, it won't be sweet. If it isn't willing, why force it? If I want it to be sweet, it will be sweet. When Zishang became tyrannical, he was truly unreasonable. The face on the Peach King tree made an aggrieved expression, and a thin branch extended over, wanting to secretly pull on Yunjuga's sleeve. But before it could touch the person, Zishang stepped on it and snapped it. You dare to touch the sovereign's people? You're tired of living. Zishang found this Peach King to be more and more displeasing to the eye. Yunjuga, on the other hand, felt that this Peach King was quite intelligent, so he continued to persuade Zishang. In this day and age, fair trade is very important. If you want it to bear fruits for you to eat, then give it something in exchange. Only by negotiating properly could they achieve a win-win situation. When the Peach King heard Yunjuga's words, it raised one of its branches and nodded repeatedly. Fine, this sovereign will listen to your conditions. Zishang had been tyrannical for so many years, but this was the first time he saw a food that dared to bargain with him. He also wanted to see what benefits this damned peach had. Save me. The Peach King immediately transmitted a powerful will to Yunjuga. Yunjuga's mind buzzed, and the scene before his eyes changed. It was still a dark, wide cave, but the human-faced Peach King in front of him was a short tree. On it was the face of a young and adorable boy. It was the spiritual energy source of this small secret realm, and it had spent countless lonely years in this cave. One day, it tried to stretch out its branches and grow upwards, then spread its branches and leaves all over the barren mountain peak. The branches and leaves slowly grew, turning into a lush peach garden. The human-faced peaches there all had the faces of beautiful boys, and they looked at the strange yet beautiful world in front of them with large, confused eyes. Until one day, this small secret realm was discovered by a group of humans. They were greedy and vicious. They attacked its branches, and even wanted to find its source and take it away. In a fit of rage, it attacked them, killing many of them. Because it had used up a lot of spiritual energy, it subconsciously absorbed the corpses as nutrients. Very soon, some of the peaches fell to the ground after absorbing too much nutrients, and were taken away by the humans. From then on, a nightmare descended. Every year, thousands of humans would come to attack it. After it retaliated, it absorbed the corpses to increase its nutrients, and then the ripe peaches were taken away. Just like that, the humans used it as a flesh and blood medium, feeding it with human lives, and then taking away its fruits. Day after day, after its branches absorbed large amounts of blood chi, it also became greedy and vicious, affecting its source. It was forced to grow quickly, and the day it matured would be the day it, and this small secret realm would be destroyed. It wanted to escape this tragic fate, and continue to protect this small secret realm as it grew. Yunjuga could feel the pain of the human-faced Peach King, and she couldn't help but shed tears for it. At this time, she faintly heard Zishang's call, and she slowly opened her eyes. Chapter 332. Juga, are you alright? Zishang looked at Yunjuga nervously. Not far away, the pitiful human-faced Peach King had already had all its branches chopped off by the enraged Zishang. All that was left was a bare trunk. The handsome man's face was scrunched up, looking incomparably miserable. That despicable Peach King dared to plot against you. Just wait for me to kill him for you. Ever since Yunjuga had almost lost her life because of Siyue, Zishang had become extremely sensitive to such things. He would not let go of anything that could harm Yunjuga. Don't, it's actually very pitiful. Yunjuga hurriedly pulled Zishang's hand. The pitiful Peach King was originally innocent and naive. As long as it continued to grow in this small secret realm, it would transform into a human form and obtain great abilities. Later, it was fed into a bloody peach by the Corpse sect. When it matured, it would become the king of slaughter and destroy the entire small secret realm. I don't care if it dies. Even if this small secret realm was destroyed, he could still bring Yunjuga away. There are so many Corpse sect disciples up there. If they all die and only I survive, how can I stay in the Corpse sect? Yunjuga knew that Zishang really wanted her to learn the Corpse bone controlling technique. He would not want her to give up halfway. As expected, Zishang hesitated, then reluctantly said, "Fine. Tell him that as long as he gives the Jasper Spirit Peach to me, I can help him separate the bloody evil energy." "What method do you have?" Yin Juga asked. "It won't be dangerous, right? You don't have to worry about that." This was a long story, and Zishang was too lazy to explain it. "Fine." Yin Juga gave up and turned to the human-faced Peach King. "Peach King, you heard it too. He is willing to help you separate the bloody evil energy in exchange for your peaches." Why did it sound a little strange to say such words to a handsome man's face? The human-faced Peach King twisted its brown vine and transmitted a clear consciousness. "I don't trust him, I trust you. I can't help you separate the bloody evil energy." Yin Juga knew that the human-faced Peach King wanted her to be his guarantor, but she did not want to do such a troublesome thing with no benefits. "This is for you." The human-faced Peach King's brown vine retracted back into the tree trunk and dug around. Finally, it pulled out a green crystal and handed it to Yin Juga. That crystal was only the size of a thumb. It was sparkling and translucent. Damn it, anyone who was shone upon by its light would feel comfortable. Yin Juga instinctively felt that eating this crystal would be beneficial to her, so she couldn't help but look at Zishang. "This is a wood spirit. After eating it, you'll be able to communicate with all the plants in the world." Although Zishang was not happy with the human-faced Peach King's actions of currying favor with Yin Juga, he had to admit that this wood spirit was very beneficial to Yin Juga. "I didn't do anything to deserve it." Yin Juga was in a difficult position. Zishang was the one who did all the work, so she was too embarrassed to accept it. "All that matters is that I have contributed." Zishang took the wood spirit and stuffed it into Yin Joga's mouth. Yin Joga felt the wood spirit melt in her mouth, and a powerful aura filled with vitality wrapped around her body. Then, two small tender leaves that looked like bean sprouts appeared on her arm. The veins on these two leaves were clear, and they were filled with wood spirit energy. Yin Joga discovered that after these two tender leaves grew out, her lightning spirit root had gained a wood spirit root, becoming a wood lightning spirit root. The human-faced Peach King was very happy to see Yin Joga's leaves. Many brown branches grew out of the bare tree trunk and pierced through the demonic beast corpses on the ground. The mountainous demonic beast corpses disappeared rapidly. The Peach King's grayish-brown skin was also gradually dyed with a layer of blood. Its handsome and perfect face became clearer and clearer, exuding a dense demonic aura. Yin Joga thought of those savage human-faced peaches in the peach forest, and immediately retreated 2 steps in alarm. "It won't go berserk and kill people, right? How can it be called the Peach King if it doesn't kill people? You'd better stay away from it." Zishang shielded Yin Joga behind him. "Joga, even if I go berserk, I won't hurt you." A gentle male voice rang out in Yin Joga's mind. It was the human-faced Peach King's voice. Previously, it could only communicate with Yin Joga through its consciousness, but now it could speak directly through the wood spirit. Although Yin Joga believed that the human-faced Peach King wouldn't hurt her, her heart still trembled when she saw its terrifying appearance. "There's still some time before it matures. Didn't you want to take care of Su Junqing? Let's go find him." Zishang grabbed Yin Joga's hand and brought her back to the ground in a flash. At this time, the ground was already in chaos. The sinister-looking human-faced peaches suddenly landed on the ground and devoured the demonic beast corpses. Then they ran to attack the Yin Corpse sect disciples. Although Wolf Fong, Bai Lan, Su Junqing, the Han brothers, and the others tried their best to resist, there were still quite a few disciples who fell. On the other hand, the Lu sisters, Ice Heart Lotus, and Little Fatty had been practicing their defense all this time. They huddled together and used their frigid Yin Chi palms to help Ice Heart Lotus condense an ice wall, barely blocking the human-faced Peach's frenzied attacks. "Everyone come over here." Seeing this, Yin Joga immediately took out her 4 bone spikes. The bewildering mist bone spikes spat out a cloud of black mist, but there were green lines flashing within. The human-faced peaches seemed to recognize her, and all avoided the black mist. "Senior brother Yin Jio is here. Everyone come quickly," the Lu sisters called out. Ice Heart Lotus immediately led the disciples and retreated towards Yunjioga in an orderly manner. Seeing this, Bailan and the disciples of the third peak also flocked towards Yunjioga. Yunjioga's black mist could not protect so many people. But even if he told Bailan, she would not listen. He had to think of a way. Wolf Fang, come over and help me erect the ice wall. Yunjioga still felt that Wolf Fang was the most pleasing to the eye, so he decided to help him. All right. Wolf Fang immediately led the disciples to unleash a frigid Inchi palm, erecting a thick ice wall on Yunjioga's left. Yunjioga then pushed a bit of his black mist over, helping them erect their defenses. The Han brothers also followed suit and led the disciples to erect an ice wall on Yunjioga's right. If Bailan wanted to get close to Yunjioga, she would have to get past them first. She wisely gave up on fighting for a spot and led the disciples to erect an ice wall as well. Yunjioga treated everyone equally and also sent some black mist over to her side. The human-face peaches were blocked by the black mist, unable to devour the people of the Yin Corpse sect. In the end, they actually started killing each other. When all the human-faced peaches had ripened, a thick blood-red vine suddenly burst out of the ground, shooting up into the sky. The ripe human-faced peaches seemed to have heard the summons of the gods, and immediately flew towards the red vine like moths to a flame. Peaches! Su Junqing panicked. He took out his triflower bone spike and caught a few human-faced peaches. Hurry up and catch those peaches! Bailan shouted. Without enough human-faced peaches, the little secret realm would not be able to open. It was useless even if they managed to avoid this. Chapter 333. Go! Wolf Fang and the rest immediately withdrew their defenses and flew towards the human-faced peaches. Wolf Fang and the rest fought desperately for the human-faced peaches, stuffing them into their own storage pouches. But the human-faced peaches seemed to have gone mad. Even if they were cut into pieces, they would still charge towards the blood-red vines. As the red vines devoured the human-faced peaches, they sent out countless branches to attack the corpse sect disciples. Many of them were injured in an instant. Apart from the disciples of the second peak, who were still able to defend, the others were all split up and scattered. Su Junqing also chased the human-faced peaches to a secluded corner. Yunji, protect me. After giving the order, Su Junqing grabbed the human-faced peaches with all his might and stuffed them into his storage pouch under Yi Yunji's cover. He looked like he would rather die for the peaches. Can we do it now? Yunjioga asked Zishang from the side. Her bone spikes were already thirsty. There's no need for you to do it. Zishang shook his head. We agreed to let me take revenge personally. Yunjioga frowned. She would not be satisfied until she killed this scum with her own hands. There's someone who hates him more than you. Zishang raised his chin, indicating for her to watch Yi Yunji. Didn't you say that she was controlled by Su Junqing and could not resist? Yunjioga asked doubtfully. We just need to get rid of the corpse-controlling curse on her. This was a good opportunity to let Yunjioga know how important it was to control the corpse-controlling curse. How? Yunjioga immediately got excited. Get Yi Yunji over first. Zishang stomped his foot, and a huge crack appeared in the ground under Su Junqing's feet. Yunji, save me! Su Junqing screamed and fell down in a straight line. Yi Yunji was just about to carry out Su Junqing's order when she was grabbed by a huge purple hand made of spiritual energy. With a whoosh, she was pulled in front of Yunjioga. Yunjioga had already taken out a small knife and was ready. The moment she saw Yi Yunji, she cut her right arm, revealing the treasure map. Yi Yunji stopped moving and exhaled a mouthful of cold air. Then her eyes began to rotate violently. Yi Yunji, this is me, Yi Yu's friend. Yunjioga waved his hand in front of her. Yi Yu, Yi Yu. Yi Yunji muttered twice, as if she had recovered some of her memories. But very quickly, her face turned ferocious, and her red lips spat out 3 fierce words. Kill, kill, kill. It's useless. Yunjioga was a bit disappointed. Yi Yunji was still driven by her obsession. How could she take revenge? You need to remove the corpse control curse from her. Zishang placed his palm on Yunjioga's back and said, Open your eyes and take a look. Yunjioga forcefully closed his eyes. He waited until a stream of hot air flashed between his brows, before he slowly opened his eyes. Yi Yunji had already turned gray in front of her, and a blood-red chain was very obvious on her chest. That's the corpse control curse that Su Junqing made for her. Zishang's voice rang in Yunjioga's ears. He's only controlling her heart now, but when he advances in the future, he'll even control her heart, liver, spleen, stomach, and kidneys. She'll never be able to escape. What can I do to remove it? Yunjioga asked. Use an even stronger corpse control curse to destroy it. Try it. Zishang's palm on Yunjioga's back began to heat up. That was a sign that he was increasing his strength. Yunjioga only felt a violent force spreading from the center of her eyebrows, causing her body to heat up. Her mind went blank, and her mouth involuntarily chanted the corpse control curse. At first it was Yin Corpse Sect, but as she chanted it, it changed. An extremely cryptic incantation, so distant that it seemed to have come from the primordial wilderness. When Zishang heard this incantation, he was instantly shocked and looked at Yunjioga in disbelief. There seemed to be a flame burning between her brows, and the phoenix feather flower was as dazzling as a phoenix that had ascended to nirvana. Red patterns spread from her forehead down. The bewitching face that had been deeply poisoned slowly faded. Her face was as white as jade, like a snowy mountain that was sealed in ice. Her black eyes were emotionless, like profound iron that had been buried for thousands of years. The color of her lips was extremely light, as if she had abandoned all emotions and desires, leaving only holiness. The cryptic incantation came out of her mouth, turning into an ancient and mysterious holy light that instantly shattered the chains on Yi Yunji's chest. Zishang stared at the completely different Yunjioga. After 10,000 years, he finally saw his lover again. Zishang stretched out his trembling hands, wanting to touch Yunjioga's beautiful, holy, bewitching and mysterious face. But before he could touch it, the red patterns retreated back into Yunjioga's forehead like a tide. In the next moment, Yunjioga opened her eyes. They were as black as ink, clear and nimble. How is it have you removed the corpse control curse? Yunjioga asked impatiently. She didn't notice that she had changed into a completely different person and almost destroyed Zishang. Zishang looked at Yunjioga, who had returned to her original appearance, and felt an indescribable sorrow and sadness in his heart, so he withdrew his hand. What's wrong with you? Yunjioga was confused. Zishang's eyes were so sorrowful just now, and she felt so unfamiliar. It's nothing, her corpse control curse has been removed. Call her again. Zishang quickly adjusted his expression and returned to his original appearance. Yunjioga didn't suspect anything, and immediately turned to Yi Yunji and shouted, Yi Yunji. Yi Yunji's tightly shut black eyes suddenly opened, and her pupils shone with the painful light of awakening. She recalled everything that had happened in her life, and there seemed to be thousands of words in her heart, love, hate, and hatred, but they were stuck in her chest, unable to be spoken. In the end, they only turned into extremely shrill cries. Ah! The shrill cries of pain pierced through the sky, as if releasing all the pain and suffering she had gone through. The blood-red vines felt the negative energy, and waved their branches even more wildly. The violent sound spread from the human face mountain to the entire small mystic realm, as if the entire world was trembling. Wolf Fang and the rest were all jolted to the ground, and could only use the bone spikes to stabilize their bodies. Su Junqing, quickly release your Yin corpses to collect the human face peaches. Bai Lan wanted to find help, but found that Su Junqing had already disappeared. At this time, Su Junqing had just fallen into the pitch-black cave, and the demonic flower bone spike was already circling around him. He cautiously climbed up from the ground, and immediately released a fireball to illuminate the surroundings. Very quickly, he discovered the human face Peach King in the middle of the cave. That handsome and perfect face was completely red, and there was an enchanting peach fragrance coming from its body. That was a sign that it was about to ripen. Su Junqing instantly revealed a look of wild joy. Before entering the small mystic realm, he had looked up a lot of information about the human-faced peach, so he was very clear about the appearance of the human-faced Peach King. The peach tree in front of him, that looked exactly like the human face mountain, was undoubtedly the human face Peach King. Chapter 334. The heavens really are looking after me. Su Junqing let out a proud laugh. Once he picked this human face Peach King, not only would he be able to evolve Yi Yunji, he could also save some for his next Yin corpse. This was killing two birds with one stone. The human face Peach King could feel a disgusting fishy smell coming from the person in front of it, just like those greedy humans. It waved its red vines at Su Junqing without any hesitation. Su Junqing immediately summoned the demonic flower Bone Thorn. Dark green flowers flew out, one protecting his head, and the other two attacking the Peach King. The demonic flower Bone Thorn's strongest ability was to suck blood, but the Peach King did not have a single drop of blood on it. The two dark green flowers only managed to cut off a few branches of the Peach King before they were entangled by its vines. Su Junqing immediately became nervous. His bewitching technique could only be used on humans. It had no effect on the Peach King. If the demonic flower Bone Thorn was entangled, he would be useless. It would be great if Yi Yunji was here. Su Junqing immediately summoned Yi Yunji. He did not even think about how Yi Yunji could come in from 100 feet underground. It was a pity that his summons was useless. Yi Yunji had already lost contact with him. Su Junqing's expression changed. Could Yi Yunji have been killed? That was impossible. He was about to summon again when a blood-red vine flew up from the ground and bound his feet. Following that, another blood-red vine turned into a sharp sword that stabbed at his chest. With a pung sound, the remaining ink flower blocked the attack in front of him, but it was quickly tied up by the blood-colored vines and dragged away. Su Junqing watched as the blood-red vine attacked again. He was so scared that he almost peed his pants. At this time, a slender white hand appeared in front of him. It spat out a cold yin qi that froze the blood-red vine. A long red sleeve swept in front of Su Junqing, carrying a delicate fragrance and a faint corpse aura. Yunji! Su Junqing hung in the air and said to Yi Yunji with wild joy, "Quickly put me down." Yi Yunji did not move. Her deep eyes just looked at him. Su Junqing hung upside down on the tree in a very sorry state. His hair was a mess and his facial features were a bit distorted. He did not look like the gentle young master from the past at all. Yi Yunji thought of how curious she was about the outside world when it was her first time leaving home. In the end, not long after he left the Yi Clan Valley, he found an extraordinarily handsome and elegant young master who had been poisoned by a snake and fainted on the side of the road. She did not hesitate to save him. After the young master woke up, he thanked her profusely and insisted that she stay in his manor for a few days. From then on, he showed great concern for her well-being, tenderness and sweetness, and used gentleness and care to weave a net that trapped her deep within. She even got married to him in the Zhuangzi. At that time, she had thought that she would be happy forever. In the end, the fire in the valley of the Yi family had woken her up from her dream and broken her heart. Her family was destroyed, her child was aborted, and her little brother was missing. She was sent to the bloodthirsty ancestor as a blood slave. Finally, he put her into the corpse refining furnace and refined her into a Yin corpse. Yi Yunji recalled the past and her whole body trembled. She looked at Su Junqing with bitter hatred in her eyes. "Yunji, what's wrong with you?" Su Junqing looked at Yi Yunji's frighteningly dark pupils, and his heart couldn't help but jump. He curled his fingers slightly. He missed the corpse control spell. Kacha! Yi Yunji made a move and cut off both of Su Junqing's arms. Ah! Su Junqing gave a pitiful cry and broke out in a cold sweat. His heart was filled with fear. Could it be that Yi Yunji was taken by another corpse control master? Su Junqing, I never thought that you would have a day like this. Yi Yunji suddenly spat out these cold words. Su Junqing looked at Yi Yunji with a look of disbelief. Yin corpses could not speak. Only if they evolved into a living corpse would they be able to recover the functions of a living person. Could it be that Yi Yunji had a great opportunity that allowed her to jump several levels and directly become a living corpse? Then wouldn't he be rich? Things are like this, and you're still dreaming of getting rich. Yi Yunji looked at Su Junqing's greedy eyes. She would always be a tool in his heart. Yunji, could it be that you've recovered your memories? Su Juanqing's pupil shrank, suddenly realizing that something was wrong. The things he did to Yi Yunji in the past could be said to be worse than a beast. If she recovered her memories, how could she let him go? That's right. You can think about how to die so that you won't let me down. Yi Yunji gently stroked Su Juanqing's face. A bone-chilling cold seeped into his body. Su Juanqing couldn't help but shiver. He wanted to kneel down and beg for mercy. He wanted to weep and repent for his past mistakes. But right now he was hanging upside down in the air. If his tears flowed backwards, it would be very ugly. Moreover, it would be very difficult to move Yi Yunji. Su Juanqing's mind quickly turned. Then he revealed a bitter smile and said, Yunji, I know you hate me. I also know that my past actions are not worthy of your forgiveness, but I truly love you. I refined you into a Yin corpse because I want to be with you forever, never to be separated. Yin Jioge was currently hiding with Zishang in the dark. Hearing Su Juanqing's confession, he was so disgusted that his body had goosebumps. He wanted to go up and give him a few slaps. Yi Yunji seemed to have heard Yin Jioge's thoughts. She reached out and slapped him 3 times. Her actions were extremely ruthless. Su Juanqing's ears instantly buzzed. He spat out a mouthful of blood and 3 teeth. His cheeks were red and swollen. Blood flowed out, making him look incomparably miserable. Yunji, if hitting me can help you vent your anger, then hit me. Su Juanqing pretended to be affectionate. His words were very tragic. Beat him to death. Yin Jioge waved his fist at the side. Yi Yunji was not polite. She punched Su Juanqing's face. Su Juanqing's face was covered in all kinds of colors. He opened his mouth and spat out several mouthfuls of blood. Tisk, beating him to death is letting him off lightly. Yin Jioge's anger was not enough to vent. Su Juanqing was such a cruel and unscrupulous man. He should be punished even more cruelly. Yin Yunji. Su Juanqing was beaten until tears and blood flew out of his nose. He was in so much pain that he couldn't even speak. But he knew that Yi Yunji had always been soft-hearted. The more he acted pitifully, the more likely he would be to ask for her forgiveness. So he forced himself to say, I know you want to kill me. I don't blame you because I deserve it. I just want you to eat me. Don't leave even my bones behind. That way, I can be with you forever. When Yi Yunji heard Su Juanqing's words, her body trembled and she stopped. Yin Jioge was worried that Yi Yunji would really fall for it. He was anxious and angry at the side. But Zishang held him down and did not let him go out. You filthy thing. Just looking at you makes me feel disgusted. You want me to eat you? Yi Yunji revealed a fierce smile. Then, she reached out and grabbed the top of Su Juanqing's head. She dug out his spirit root. Chapter 335. Ah! Su Juanqing screamed. Blood flowed from his head, and his body trembled in pain. This was not enough. Yi Yunji crippled Su Juanqing's dantian with a kick. Then, she stabbed her fingers into his face like knives and injected the frigid corpse poison into him. Su Juanqing felt like he had fallen into a bottomless ice cave. The pain on his face and body was enough to drive him crazy. He screamed and lost consciousness. Yi Yunji put Su Juanqing down from the vine and threw him to the side like trash. Then she walked towards Yin Jioge. You let him go just like that. Yin Jioge glanced at Su Juanqing. He saw that he had been hit by Yi Yunji's frigid corpse poison. Not only was his spirit cultivation destroyed, his face and body were covered in tumors. He looked more disgusting than a toad. It was a horrible sight. Letting him live is the most painful thing. Someone will take care of him when we get back. Yi Yunji's expression was calm. The beating just now had vented a lot of her anger. After knowing that Su Juanqing's final outcome would be worse than death, she did not pay any attention to him. Then what do you plan to do next? Yin Jioge asked. Yi Yunji's corpse control curse had been removed. She had regained her previous consciousness. She could choose a new path to live. Although Yin Corpse sect would still try to harm her if they found out, it would not be a problem if she found a place far away from Yin Corpse sect to live in seclusion. I am already a dead person. I should go where the dead should go, Yi Yunji said calmly. You want to die? Yin Jioge did not expect Yi Yunji to choose this path. I died a long time ago. All that's left is a wisp of my soul. I won't last long. Yi Yunji was very calm about death. She had lived a failure in this life. There was nothing left for her. The only thing she was worried about was her younger brother, Yi Yu. She had committed heinous crimes, but her younger brother had never given up on saving her. Towards this younger brother of his, he really owed too much. Junior brother Yin Jioga, you are Yi Yu's friend. I want to ask a favor of you. Yi Yunji had never seen Yin Jioga's real body. Naturally, she thought he was a man like the In Corpse sect disciples. Please speak. As long as it is within my means, I will definitely not refuse, Yin Jioga said solemnly. I don't have anything on me. I don't have anything to leave for my little brother. The only thing I have is this In Corpse body. So I ask you to give my body to Yi Yu after my consciousness disappears. From now on, she would protect her little brother by his side, forever protecting him. I can take you to find Yi Yu, but your face. Yin Jioga was in a bit of a dilemma. He was afraid that the news would be leaked and lead to the In Corpse sect's pursuit. You don't have to worry about that. Yi Yunji smiled and touched her forehead with her finger. Her hair, eyebrows, and eyelashes all turned snow white. The dazzling red mole between her eyebrows instantly froze into an ice sculpture and fell into her palm. Her pale white skin slowly cracked, covered with countless small black cracks. She looked like a failed puppet, completely different from the beautiful In Corpse from before. Yi Yunji reached out her cracked hand and dug out the treasure map from her right arm. Then she gave it to Yin Jioga. I'll ask you one more thing. Don't tell Yi Yu that this is my real body. Let him think that I'm already dead, and that my corpse is buried in a sea of flowers. He knows that I love flowers the most. Yi Yunji revealed a grin, giving off an indescribably terrifying feeling. All right. Yin Jioga took the treasure map with a heavy heart. This ice sculpture. Help me give it to a disciple from the bloodthirsty sect called Thin Monkey. Although he isn't a good person, he treats me well. Yi Yunji gave the red mole that had turned into an ice sculpture to Yin Jioga. During her days in the bloodthirsty sect, because she was worried that she would be sent to the blood cave as a cauldron, she lived in fear every day and night. It was Thin Monkey who gave her a trace of warmth in her darkest time. She always remembered this kindness. In order to save you, Thin Monkey died after helping us break the sect protecting array. Yi Yu has already taken his ashes, Yin Jioga said as he took the ice sculpture. Yi Yunji was stunned. After a while she said, then I'll put this red mole into his ashes. All right. Yin Jioga nodded and then asked, is there anything you're worried about? Something I'm worried about? Yi Yunji's eyes flashed with a trace of confusion. She had sealed her Yin energy in her right arm, so as long as she didn't use it, no one would discover her special physique. Everything that needed to be said had already been said. There was nothing she couldn't let go of. If there was anything she couldn't let go of, then there was only one thing. Yi Yunji's eyes fell onto Su Junqing, who was like mud in the corner. She gave a soft sigh and said, after he's tortured, help me give him a release. All right. Yin Jioga nodded. Yi Yunji really was a loyal woman. Even if she hated Su Junqing, she would still give him a trace of pity. Such a good woman, why was her life so bitter? Thank you, you're also a good person. Yi Yunji left behind a final smile. Her black eyes gradually lost their light, and she completely disappeared from this world. Yin Jioga looked at Yi Yunji with a sad expression. The only thing she could do now was to send Yi Yunji back to Yi Yu's side. But she didn't know how to send such a terrifying In Corpse to Yi Yu. She didn't know what he would think. Before Yin Jioga could think of a way, she heard Zishang seriously say from the side, quickly put her away. The Peach King is about to ripen. Yin Jioga turned to look, and found that the Peach King had already turned into a perfect human figure. A tall nose, handsome eyes, perfect facial features, and a tall and slender figure. If it was placed in the human race, it would be a rare handsome man. It was a pity that the bloody aura on its body was incomparably thick. On the peach tree branch, the left half of the peach was condensed from blood, filled with a fierce aura, while the right half was carved from jade, filled with a delicious spiritual energy. The two colors did not have a clear boundary, rather they were fighting for territory in the middle. Sometimes it was red, sometimes it was green, But in general, the green color was at a disadvantage. What do I need to do to help you? Yin Jioge quickly used Su Juanqing's corpse refining bag to put Yi Yunji away. Just watch from the side, Zishang said as he placed his palm on the Peach King's chest. Noodles, the bloody aura on the Peach King's body found an outlet, and it was like a river bursting its banks, surging towards Zishang. The camouflage on Zishang's body was instantly destroyed. His long silver-gray hair became the white of moonlight, and a purple horn grew out of his head. His eyes became purple with vertical pupils, and his 2 long legs turned back into the shape of a snake, coiling tightly on the ground. The stench of blood was like a raging sea crashing onto his body, forcing him to retreat little by little. The entire underground cave was shaking, and countless rocks fell from the sky, as if it would collapse at any time. Chapter 336. Yin Jioge looked at Zishang nervously. She had received the consciousness of the human-faced Peach King before, so she knew that it was extremely painful when the bloodthirsty aura wreaked havoc in one's body. It could even drive one crazy. The human-faced Peach King could even distribute the pain to the branches of the peach forest. Zishang could only bear it alone, and it was even more painful. Although the human-faced Peach King and the secret realm were pitiful, Zishang was much more important to Yin Jioge than them. I'm fine. Zishang could feel Yin Jioge's worry, so he turned and smiled at her. A drop of blood rolled down his pure white face. His smile was even uglier than crying. Is this peach really that important? Is it more important than your life? Yin Jioge looked at Zishang with heartache. His handsome and devilish face was covered in sweat. Even the scales on his tail had turned red. Strands of bloody aura emanated from his body. It was the bloodthirsty aura that was attacking crazily. No matter how strong its demonic body was, it could not endure such torture. Yet, the human-faced Peach King stood there as if nothing had happened. What are you standing there for? If you don't think of a way to help him, we're all finished. Yin Jioge shouted angrily at the human-faced Peach King. After hearing Yin Jioge's words, the human-faced Peach King unwillingly spread its arms, spreading the bloodthirsty aura throughout the secret realm. Zishang's burden was relieved, and he immediately absorbed the aura. Very soon, the bloodthirsty aura on the human-faced Peach King's body disappeared completely. The peach on the red branch had turned completely green, giving off a fruity fragrance. The human-faced Peach King had also turned completely human. He had a head of light green hair, a tall and slender figure, and a grass skirt wrapped around his waist. His facial features were perfect, and he had a pair of green eyes. The pupils were the shape of 2 tender leaves, very similar to the leaves growing from Yin Jioge's arms. Why doesn't this peach have a human face? Yin Jioge did not pay attention to how perfect the human-faced Peach King was. What she was concerned about was that the peach that Zishang wanted so desperately looked different from the human-faced peach above. Those human-faced peaches are my branches. This is the real Jasper Spirit Peach that was cultivated from the secret realm's Ling Qi. The human-faced Peach King reached out and plucked the Jasper Spirit Peach, then handed it to Yin Jioge. Yin Jioge did not take it. Instead, he looked at Zishang. After all, this was a treasure that he had risked his life to obtain. Store it in a jade box. Zishang gestured to Yin Jioge. Yin Jioge immediately took out a jade box and put away the Jasper Spirit Peach. The human-faced Peach King reluctantly said to Yin Jioge, "This little secret realm is about to close completely. You guys should leave quickly." Just now, he had used his bloodthirsty aura to destroy all the restrictions left behind by the evil people and erase the coordinates of this mystic realm. In the future, he would completely leave the sight of the human race. Then what about you? Yin Jioge was a little worried that something would happen to the human-faced Peach King. After all, it had given her a wood spirit and a peach. I can't leave my main body yet. I'll be able to leave the small mystery realm after I've completely transformed. At that time, I'll look for you and repay you for saving my life. A gentle light flashed through the human-faced Peach King's green eyes. He really liked this girl called Yin Jioge in front of him. Her scent was very fragrant, and it could calm his raging heart. Unfortunately, that Yao called Zishang was too scary. Otherwise, He would really want Yun Jioga to stay behind to accompany him. Then I wish you all the best. Yun Jioga still didn't know that the human face Peach King had designs on her. She even politely gave her blessings. The human face Peach King immediately revealed a joyful expression. He nodded heavily and said, "Okay. I'll definitely look for you. It's getting late, let's go." Zishang grabbed Yun Jioga's shoulder with a possessive look and gave the human face Peach King a warning look. This damned Peach dared to have designs on his wife. He would kill him sooner or later. Alright, let's go. Yun Jioga didn't forget to bring the unconscious Su Junqing with her when she left. However, she wasn't willing to touch him directly, so she used a rope to tie him up and drag him to the ground. At this time, the human face mountain was already shaking, and the mountain rocks were collapsing. The entire small mystery realm was on the verge of destruction. The disciples of the Yin Corpse sect were so scared that their faces were pale. Many of them were paralyzed on the ground, waiting for death in despair. Are we going to die here? Little Fatty had a sullen expression. He still had a great life that he hadn't enjoyed yet. The Lu sisters didn't say anything. They only held each other's hands tightly. They were already very satisfied to be able to live and die together. The only pity was that they couldn't get revenge on their uncle's family. Ice Heart Lotus was still waving the frostbone spike in her hand as she fought. Wolf Fang, Bai Lan, and the Han brothers were also desperately looking for a way to leave, but they were disappointed again and again. Just as everyone was in despair, a clear voice rang out like the sound of nature. "Everyone come quickly. There's a passage here that can leave." The people of the Yin Corpse sect raised their heads and saw Yun Jioga standing in front of a pitch-black spatial passage, waving at them desperately. At that moment, everyone remembered her bewitching and beautiful corpse poison face. They were so shocked that they froze on the spot. "What are you all standing there for? Come quickly," Yun Jioga shouted again. Only then did everyone come to their senses. They rushed towards Yun Jioga, wailing like ghosts and howling like wolves. "What the hell are you squeezing? You'll only break the passage if you all rush in like a swarm of bees." One by one, the disciples of peak number 2 go in first, then peak number 1, peak number 3, peak number 4, peak number 5. If you don't King listen to me, believe it or not, I'll destroy the passage right now. Yun Jioga took out her bone spike and attacked Wolf Fang, the Han brothers and Bai Lan. She was standing beside the passage now. A bone spike could disrupt the space and destroy the passage. Wolf Fang and the others immediately came to their senses. They restrained the disciples according to Yun Jioga's instructions and lined up obediently. "Senior brother Yun Jioga, aren't you leaving?" The Lu sisters asked. "You guys go first. I'll leave with senior sister Bai Lan and the others." Yun Jioga's words made the unwilling Bai Lan shut up. Just like that, all the disciples of the Yin Corpse sect entered the spatial passage in an orderly manner under Yun Jioga's organization. The small mystic realm was completely closed. At that moment, Elder Whitebone and Elder Ink Flower were drinking tea in the Ink Flower Palace of the Yin Corpse sect. Cho-sun really left for a long time this time. He even missed the opening of the small mystic realm. Elder Ink Flower was already 500 years old. However, she had eaten a face-halting pill when she was young, so she still looked like a 16-year-old girl. Her skin was white and tender, her eyes were thin and long, and there was a tear mole on her left cheek. Although her looks were not peerlessly beautiful, she had a particularly seductive aura. That's nothing. That woman Siyue was beaten half to death in the Thunder Nation. Her demon corpse was also crippled, but he still didn't come back. Elder Whitebone was a bald man with thick eyebrows and big eyes. He wore a black robe, and a necklace made of a string of small skulls hung on his chest. I heard that Cho-sun encountered an ancient ruin outside. He's probably busy searching for treasures. Elder Ink Flower poured a cup of spirit tea for Elder Whitebone. I heard that too. However, as long as the curse on that guy isn't removed, he won't be able to advance no matter how many treasures he has. Elder Whitebone took a sip of the spirit tea and gave Elder Ink Flower a piece of advice. Cho-sun has always been protective of his people. Be careful that he comes back to settle the score with you. Su Junqing, and Si Yue from the Ink Flower Peak had an unclear relationship. Now that Si Yue was seriously injured and unconscious, Jin Yanwei from the Cho Peak had come to ask Su Junqing about the situation several times, but was rejected by Elder Ink Flower. When he returned, he would definitely complain to Cho Sr. "We'll talk about it when the time comes." Elder Ink Flower smiled. Su Junqing was not exactly a plaything to her. If Cho's son insisted that she hand him over, it was fine. Seeing this, Elder Whitebone did not say anything else. He picked up his teacup and took another sip of spirit tea. At that moment, a violent wave suddenly came from outside. The teacup in his hand fell to the ground and shattered into countless pieces. Chapter 337. Something happened to the little secret realm. Elder Whitebones' figure immediately disappeared from the spot. Elder Emohua also hurriedly followed. A violent ripple came from the entrance of the Great Barren Mountain, as if someone had forcefully torn open a crack in space. "It's not time yet. Why would the little secret realm open?" Elder Whitebones' expression was extremely ugly. This little secret realm was extremely important to the Yin Corpse sect, so the nascent soul-old ancestors of the sect worked together to set up a restriction that could only be opened with their special tokens. Not good. The restriction of the little secret realm is starting to disappear. And the coordinates have also disappeared. Elder Emohua calculated, and his expression immediately changed. The restriction had disappeared, and the coordinates had disappeared. Even if the nascent soul-old ancestors came, they would not be able to enter the little secret realm. Elder Whitebones' heart was also burning with anxiety, but the spatial distortion was so severe that he did not dare to barge in recklessly. At this time, the crack in the secret realm became larger and larger, and following that, a red aura spewed out, and countless Yin Corpse sect disciples were spat out. Wolf Fong, Bailan, Elder Whitebones and Elder Emohua immediately saw the disciples of their respective sections. "Master," Wolf Fong and Bailan had just landed on the ground, and were still dizzy and nauseous. "What's going on?" Elder Emohua stepped forward and sent Bailan flying with a slap. After landing, Bailan knelt down reflexively and said hurriedly, "Master, please don't be angry. This disciple also does not know what is going on." Elder Whitebones was much more lenient towards his own disciples. He first checked Wolf Fong's situation, and seeing that he was not injured, he asked, "Where are the human-faced peaches? How many did you guys pick?" Since they could not find the little secret realm, they should at least get their hands on the human-faced peaches first. "Master, those human-faced peaches were all swallowed by a blood-red vine, and we only managed to pick a few with great difficulty." Wolf Fong took out his storage bag and found that the human-faced peaches he had placed inside had disappeared without a trace, leaving only a handful of red powder. The Han brothers and the rest also hurriedly checked their own storage bags and found that the same thing was happening. Elder Whitebones frowned as he looked at the red powder and sent out a wave of divine sense to scan it. Elder Emohua also followed immediately. The divine sense of 2 golden core ancestors was not something that ordinary disciples could withstand. Many low-level disciples fainted due to the splitting headache, and the rest were covered in cold sweat with painful expressions on their faces. Yun Jioga lowered her head and mingled with the crowd. With Zishang by her side, the pressure of a golden core ancestor was really nothing. "Bailan, tell me clearly, what exactly is going on?" Elder Emohua's eyes swept across the area, and when he realized that there was no scent of the peaches, a furious expression appeared on his face. "Master, after we entered the small mysterious realm, we found that the situation inside was very different from the information given by the sect. The demonic beasts became very ferocious and killed more than half of the disciples." Bailan quickly recounted everything that had happened, especially emphasizing that in order to complete the sect's mission, they had gone through all sorts of hardships to hunt demonic beasts, and even managed to ripen twice as many human-faced peaches as before. But in the end, they had all been swallowed up by a blood-colored vine. It's the human-faced peach king." A weak voice rang out. Elder Emohua could tell that it was Su Junqing's voice, and threw out a light lock to pull him out. But before he could reach her, he was once again flung out viciously. Su Junqing landed on the ground with a thud. His body, which was already in intense pain, felt like it was falling apart. He struggled to get up from the ground, wanting to tell Elder Emohua about his encounter with the human-faced Peach King, as well as his experience of being betrayed by that bitch Yi Yunji. But when he raised his head, he saw a look of extreme disgust in Elder Emohua's eyes, as if she was looking at trash. Junior brother Su, how did you become like this? Bailan also couldn't help but take a few steps back. The people around Su Junqing all retreated, as if they were afraid of being infected by the plague. What happened to me? Su Junqing still didn't understand what had happened. Although Yi Yunji had destroyed his spirit root and cultivation, he believed that as long as Elder Emohua was willing to help him, it would not be difficult to transplant a new spirit root. See for yourself. Bailan shot out a crystalline image out of goodwill and landed in front of Su Junqing. Su Junqing raised his head and saw that the crystalline image reflected a strange face covered in yellow-green pustules, which oozed with a foul stench. He looked down in disbelief and found that his hands and body were also covered in the same pustules. Impossible, this isn't me, this definitely isn't me. Su Junqing desperately shook his head, wanting to get away from the image, but he tripped over a rock and fell to the ground. The nearby disciples immediately scattered, each one of them revealing a disgusted expression. The Lu sisters even said in a small voice, "So disgusting." That's right, I want to vomit when I see it. Su Junqing was about to go crazy. He had always been confident in his looks and body. He had indeed used his good looks to obtain many benefits from women. Now that he had become like this, he definitely couldn't accept it. Master, save me. Su Junqing fearfully reached out his hand towards Elder Emohua for help. Where's your life-sourcing corpse? Elder Emohua glanced over and found that Su Junqing's corpse refining bag and storage bag had disappeared. She betrayed me. Su Junqing thought about how his current misery was caused by Yi Yunji. His eyes immediately filled with a bone-deep hatred. She's being controlled by someone? Elder Emohua was doubtful. The strongest people that entered the small secret realm were at the Foundation Establishment realm. It was impossible for them to steal the Ying corpses of cultivators of the same level. No, she's become a living corpse. Su Junqing shook his head. Living corpse? Elder Emohua was shocked. Tell me in detail. Elder Whitebone's eyes flashed with an indescribable glow. A Yin spirit Dao body that had become a living corpse. That was the most powerful Yin corpse. This kind of treasure, even if they had to fall out with Emohua, they had to take it back. Su Junqing didn't even have time to speak before Elder Emohua's eyes flashed with a fierce glow, and he reached out his hand. An ink-black yin qi condensed into a large hand that covered Su Junqing's head, instantly piercing through his entire body. Su Junqing's eyes were filled with blood. His eyeballs popped out. The veins on his face and neck popped out. Those pustules popped out. Yunjoga's heart was shocked. At first he thought that Elder Emohua wanted to save Su Junqing. But after seeing the situation clearly, he knew that Elder Emohua had actually used the soul-searching technique on Su Junqing. This soul-searching technique was a kind of tyrannical evil cultivation technique. It was specially used to gather information. It's said that people who were hit by this cultivation technique would feel like their brain was being repeatedly stirred by a knife. Not only was it very painful, they would also become a cripple after using it. Elder Emohua was truly ruthless, making a move without saying a word. Yunjoga finally understood what Yi Yunji meant when she said someone would take care of Su Junqing. Being tortured by the soul-searching technique, it was definitely 1,000 times more painful than being beaten to death. Chapter 338. Elder Whitebones waited for Emohua to finish searching before asking, "How is it? See for yourself." Elder Emohua withdrew her hand gloomily. She had already found out the whole story from Su Junqing's soul. Although the human-faced Peach King and Yi Yunji were both good things, it was too painful for them to be left in the small secret realm. Such a painful thing naturally had to be shared with others. Elder Whitebones also used the soul-searching technique on Su Junqing. When he saw the human face Peach King and Yi Yunji, he couldn't help but reveal an expression of wild joy. But when he saw the small secret realm collapse, he instantly fell from the clouds. He was so angry that he wanted to smash Su Junqing's soul with one palm. Keep his soul. When the sect leader and Cho-sun asked, let them search it themselves. This time, the small secret realm was sealed, and the Yin Corps sect suffered heavy losses. The sect leader would definitely ask. She and Whitebones were responsible for this matter, and couldn't escape responsibility. Rather than wasting time explaining, it was better to let them search his soul themselves. Elder Emohua took out a soul-collecting bottle, and kept Su Junqing's soul in it. His body was burnt to ashes by a fire. Su Junqing really can't live this time. Zishang sometimes admired the creativity of the human race. When it came to torturing people, they were indeed skilled. Yin Joga was deeply convinced. Although Yi Yunji begged her to free Su Junqing after he was tortured, this was just the beginning. They would talk about it after he was tortured for a while. But after Elder Cho-sun and the sect leader tormented him a few times, Su Junqing's soul probably wouldn't be left. All of you open your storage bags. Elder Emohua was still unwilling to give up. Although the human-faced Peach King was left in the secret realm, someone might pick up the corpse refining bag and bring Yi Yunji out. After Wolf Fang, Bai Lan, and the rest saw Su Junqing's miserable state, not many dared to resist. All of them obediently opened their own storage pouches and held them in their hands. Yin Joga was the same. Anyway, the corpse refining bag and Su Junqing's storage bag, as well as her valuable possessions and pets, were all with Zishang. At this moment, her storage bag only had some pills, a few bone spikes, a corpse-controlling bell, and a few thousand spirit jades from selling the beast-attracting incense. The people present were all Qi condensation disciples, and none of them were good people. Only Wolf Fang and Bai Lan's storage bags were worth looking at. In particular, the set of evil weapons in Wolf Fang's hands was not bad. However, Elder Whitebones would not go to the extent of laying his hands on his disciple for such a small thing. Elder Whitebones and Elder Emohua scanned the area with their divine senses, and had to admit that the corpse refinement bags were not in the hands of these disciples. Emohua Chang's heart ached at the thought that his famous magic weapon, the demonic flower bone spike, was missing. Fortunately, it wasn't like he didn't gain anything. At least she found a talent in Su Junqing's place, and could recruit him into her ink flower palace. Yin Joga could clearly feel Elder Emohua's gaze landing on her. Yin Jio, right? Elder Emohua walked in front of her and asked. Raise your head. Yin Joga had no choice but to raise her head. However, she still looked down. She was worried that Elder Emohua would see through her disguise. Young lad, you're not bad. Come back to the ink flower peak with me later. The ink flower elder did not see through Yin Joga's true body, and was very satisfied with her bewitching appearance. Junior brother Yin Jio, we'll be on the same peak in the future, Bai Lan immediately said with a smile. The other disciples all had complicated expressions. Some were envious, but most were sympathetic. Usually intersect disciples only accepted foundation establishment cultivators. No matter how strong one's connections were in the sect, one had to start as an outer sect disciple. The ink flower peak was naturally no exception. Elder Emohua had taken Yin Joga in as a boy toy in the beginning. When his cultivation level increased, he would then become a disciple. However, Elder Emohua had always been very good to her children. Just look at Su Junqing. Therefore, people who wanted to reach the heavens in one step would be envious of her. Yin Jiu appreciates Elder's kindness. However, my cultivation level is still low. I want to stay in the outer sect to continue cultivating. Yin Joga rejected Elder Emohua's invitation without hesitation. Even a real man would not want to be the boy toy of an old witch, much less a fake man. Have you thought it through? Elder Emohua's deep voice was filled with pressure. Although she did not completely release the aura of a gold core ancestor, it was enough to make the Qi training stage disciples tremble. The Lu sisters and Ice Heart Lotus were worried for Yin Joga. They were afraid that Elder Emohua would kill her in a fit of anger. Although Yin Corp's sect forbade internal strife, That was only for normal disciples. To a gold core ancestor, killing a few outer sect disciples was as easy as killing a few chickens. Not only would the sect not pursue the responsibility of the gold core ancestor, it would also blame the outer sect disciples for being blind and offending the gold core ancestor. I have already thought it through. Yun Jioge was neither servile nor overbearing. He did not care about Elder Emohua's anger at all. Good, very good. Elder Emohua laughed. She had been in Yin Corp's sect for so many years. This was the first time she had seen such a courageous youth. It was really interesting. She decided to play with this youth and teach him how to survive in the Yin Corp's sect. Bailan looked at Yun Jioge sympathetically. She somewhat admired her courage, but also sneered at her ignorance. Offending a gold core ancestor was definitely fatal. If she obediently gave in now, she could still get more benefits. If she came back to beg after being tortured to the point of death, her value would drop greatly. Sigh, she was still too inexperienced. All right, everyone has worked hard in the small mystic realm. Go back and rest. Elder Whitebones said in a good mood. Every year, the disciples who came out of the small mystic realm alive would become the pillars of the sect. This time, it was a good thing that so many people came out alive. The sect had gained a lot of manpower. Thank you, Elder. After Wolf Fong and the Han brothers thanked Elder Whitebones and Elder Black Flower in unison, they walked towards their respective outer sect peaks. The originally popular Yun Jioge was now completely empty. No one dared to approach her. Ice Heart Lotus wanted to go over, but she was held back by Little Fatty. The Lu sisters acted as if they didn't know Yun Jioge at all, and hurriedly went back. If it was someone else being isolated like this, they would probably feel lonely, fearful, and angry. However, Yun Jioge did not feel anything with Zishang by her side. She could understand why the Lu sisters and Little Fatty were like this. After all, Elder Emohua was powerful. It was easy for him to take care of them. Avoiding her was the wisest move. At this moment, Zishang suddenly whispered in Yun Jioge's ear. When we go back, this sovereign will give you a peach. You're willing to share it with me? Yun Jioge was slightly surprised. Although Zishang would always think of her when there were benefits, this Jasper Spirit Peach was something that he had risked his life to obtain, so she felt ashamed to accept it. Chapter 339. If it was someone else, I would definitely not give it to them. However, for you, let alone a Jasper Spiritual Peach, even if you want to eat my heart, liver, and lungs, I would be willing, Zishang said with a grin. Yun Jioge couldn't help but roll her eyes. Zishang was always like this. You could never guess whether he was telling the truth or lying. Sometimes, she could feel that Zishang liked her. But sometimes, she felt that Zishang was only with her for the sake of sex. So she had very complicated feelings towards Zishang. Sometimes, she really didn't want to talk to him. The two of them quickly returned to their cottage. After Zishang quickly set up a formation, he took out the Jasper Spirit Peach and let Yun Jioge eat it. Are you giving it all to me? Yun Jioge asked hesitantly. Of course. Zishang risked his life to get this peach for her. This is too expensive. Yun Jioge was a little hesitant. It's okay. After you eat it, let's do dual cultivation immediately. It'll be good for me too. Zishang said. Yun Jioge was a little embarrassed at first, but after hearing Zishang's words, she immediately disappeared. In the end, he just wanted her to pay with her body. It'll be a waste not to eat it. Yun Jioge picked up the Jasper Spirit Peach and ate it in big mouthfuls. To be honest, the taste of this Jasper Spirit Peach was too delicious. As soon as it entered her mouth, it turned into a stream of extremely pure spiritual energy that gently washed over her body. She felt as if she was soaking in warm spring water on a cold day. Her whole body felt comfortable. Zishang looked at Yun Jioge gently with a faint smile on his lips. It seemed that just watching Yun Jioge eat was enough for him. After eating, let's do dual cultivation. Although Yun Jioge was grateful to Zishang, she wasn't used to saying sweet words. After putting away the rest of the peach, she put on a businesslike expression and prepared to start cultivating with Zishang. There's no rush. You've just eaten, take a rest first. Zishang. who was usually more anxious than anyone else, pulled Yunjioga's hand and lay down on the bed. Yunjioga also felt that it wasn't good to exercise immediately after eating, so she lay down with him and accidentally fell asleep. Zishang propped up his head with his elbow and carefully looked at Yunjioga. The demonic face that had been poisoned by the corpse poison was completely different from the pure and holy, which in his memory, but the smell on her body was so familiar. He planted a gentle kiss on Yunjioga's forehead and then slowly moved down, like a feather lightly brushing past. It was a grateful, intimate, and reassuring kiss. Yunjioga was in a daze, but he still responded to Zishang's kiss subconsciously. The two of them hugged and kissed intimately, and naturally, they had intercourse. After Yunjioga woke up, he felt very comfortable. The dual cultivation this time was especially gentle and harmonious, making her feel a sense of security. She did not know whether Zishang loved her or not, but it was true that he treated her well. Moreover, Zishang's attitude towards her had changed a little. He was a little more gentle and considerate towards her. Although Yunjioga didn't know what was going on, he was very satisfied. More importantly, the 9-layer bone shatterer poison in her dantian was finally removed by 1 layer, leaving only 5 layers. Zishang looked at Yunjioga with a gentle smile on his face. At this time, the defensive array formation set up in the house rippled. Zishang glanced outside and said, "That little fatty Jin Lin is looking for you," and he brought someone with him. As soon as he finished speaking, there was a knock on the door. Yunjioga got up and opened the door. She saw little fatty and a middle-aged man with mid-stage foundation establishment cultivation standing outside. The middle-aged man had a long and thin face. Although he looked handsome, there were faint wrinkles between his brows. He looked like a serious person. "Uncle, this is senior brother Yunjio. Thanks to him, I was able to come out of the small mystic realm alive." Little fatty introduced them. "Senior brother Yunjio, this is my uncle Jinchuan." Disciple greets senior Jinchuan. Yunjioga cupped his hands and bowed. Let's talk inside." Jinchuan walked towards Yunjioga's house. He was obviously a powerful person. "Sorry, my uncle is a little impatient." Little fatty smiled at Yunjioga sheepishly. "It's fine." No matter how unhappy Yunjioga was, she wouldn't give little fatty a hard time. Little fatty saw that she looked calm and didn't seem to have a grudge. Then he mustered up his courage and said, "Senior brother Yunjio, don't blame me and the Lu sisters for ignoring you just now. We really didn't dare to offend Elder Mo Hua. It's human nature to protect oneself. I understand that." Yunjioga nodded. Little fatty and the Lu sisters had low cultivation levels. They couldn't even be crushed by a finger of Elder Mo Hua. It was ridiculous to expect them to stand up for him. When Jinchuan heard Yunjioga's words, he frowned and said, "I think you're a reasonable person. Why would you reject Elder Mo Hua?" "Senior Jinchuan, are you here to persuade Elder Mo Hua?" He didn't look like a pimp. Just now Elder Mo Hua gave an order to the mission hall. He forbade the mission hall from giving you any missions. He also forbade the outer sect disciples from forming a team with you. Jinchuan repeated Elder Mo Hua's order with a straight face. "Senior brother Yunjio, if you can't accept missions, you can't enter the Yin-Chi cemetery to collect Yin-Chi. If you can't collect Yin-Chi, you can't refine pills and cultivate. How are you going to survive in the Yin Corpse sect?" Little fatty's face was full of worry. It was as if he was the one being forced. "I have my ways. You don't have to worry about that." Yunjioga's plan was to leave the Yin Corpse sect to lie low. She would first send Yi Yunji's body to Yiyu. Then, she would return to Thunder Country to visit Mother Qing and the others. She had been away for half a year. She didn't know what was going on in Thunder Country. If she had the chance, she wanted to go to the 100,000 Mountains to find Luo Tian and Junichen. "You want to leave the Yin Corpse sect to cultivate outside?" Jinchuan saw through Yunjioga's thoughts. "Yes. Didn't they say that disciples in the 5th stage of weapon refining stage can go out to cultivate?" This was a rule set by the sect leader. Even if Elder Mo Hua wanted to go against her, he couldn't openly oppose it. Otherwise, he would be embarrassing the sect leader. The sect leader personally gave the order. He said that all disciples participating in the small mystery realm must be investigated in the sect. They are not allowed to go out. You can't go against the sect leader. Take care of yourself. Jin Chuan stood up and left. The fact that he had personally come to talk to Yun Jioga about this was already because of little fatty. Senior brother Yun Jio, think about it. Anyway, I won't dare to come here openly in the future. If there is any news, I will think of a way to inform you. Little Fatty lowered his voice and said, Thanks. Yin Jioga patted Little Fatty's shoulder. It was rare for him to be so considerate. That's right. Ice Heart Lotus originally wanted to come find you. However, he was locked up by his sister-in-law to cultivate. He told me to tell you not to be angry at him. Little Fatty thought of something else. Tell him to cultivate in peace. Otherwise, he will also be captured and sent to Inkflower Mountain. Yin Juga joked. Although Ice Heart Lotus was a little feminine, he was really beautiful. Maybe one day, Elder Mo Hua would like him if he wanted to change his appetite. Chapter 340. Hee. I'll definitely help you pass on this message to him. Little Fatty saw that Yun Jioga wasn't angry at the Ice Heart Lotus, so he happily left. Yun Jioga sent Fatty off, and had just returned to the house, when someone knocked on the door again. She opened the door and saw Wolf Fong, dressed in black, standing at the door. I have something to talk to you about. Let's talk inside. Wolf frowned. It was obvious that the matter was very urgent. Come in. Yun Jioga brought Wolf Fong into the house, and was about to pour him some hot tea. No need. After Wolf waved his hand to reject, he went straight to the point and said, I heard that you have a mysterious white-bone monkey. The news travels fast. Yin Jioga smiled as he poured himself a cup of tea and drank it. She knew that it was impossible for the disciples of Peak No. 2 to help her hide this matter. But she did not expect that they would betray her so quickly. Paper can't wrap fire. As the No. 1 outer sect disciple, Wolf Fong was not only famous in Peak 1, he also had some eyes on Peak 2. But this time, the informant told him about this matter, because he wanted to beg him to save Yun Jioga. The informant felt that Elder White Bones was better than Elder Black Flower. At the very least, he would not let Yun Jioga sleep with him. If it fell into Elder Mo Hua's hands, Yun Jioga would lose both his life and his wealth. We'll see if we can't, Yun Jioga said indifferently. You won't be able to keep the mysterious white bone. Why don't you offer it to my master, and become his disciple? With me looking after the White Bone Peak, your days won't be too difficult. Wolf Fong was truly concerned for Yun Jioga. His master's nickname was White Bone, because he was especially knowledgeable about spirit bones. If he knew of the existence of the mystic white bone monkey, he would definitely snatch it back. I appreciate senior brother Wolf Fong's good intentions, but the profound white bone monkey is very important to me. I don't want to give it away. Yun Jioga had raised the profound white bone monkey for so long, and he had feelings for it. How could he bear to give it away? Wolf looked at Yun Jioga with disapproval. Seeing her determined expression, he hesitated for a moment before lowering his voice and saying, If you don't want to go to White Bone Peak, why don't you try other places? Where? Yun Jioga raised his eyebrows and asked. Wolf dipped his finger in the tea and wrote the words, Enemy Peak, on the table. He had no choice. His master was determined to obtain the mystic white bone monkey. If he were to find out that he was actually encouraging Yun Jioga to go somewhere else, he would definitely be beaten to death. It was only because Yun Jioga had saved him several times that he took such a risk to persuade her. Elder Cho's son also wants the mystic white bone monkey. Yun Jioga had never heard of Elder Cho Sen's research on spirit bones. No, isn't his disciple Si Yue seriously injured and unconscious? If you can help him wake her up, he should protect you. Wolf Fong was just giving Yun Jioga a suggestion. Elder Cho Sen's background was also very complicated. It was said that he was originally at the late Golden Core stage, but when he was trying to break through to the nascent soul stage, he was plotted against. His body shrunk to the size of a child, and his cultivation regressed to the middle Golden Core stage. But even so, he was still one of the most powerful elders in the Corpse sect. And even the sect master was very afraid of him. His bloodthirsty bat bone spikes were extremely powerful. The most terrifying thing was that although he had many Yin corpses, no one had ever seen his life source Yin corpse. It could be imagined just how terrifying his strength was. Many thanks, senior brother. I will consider this. Yin Juga seriously nodded. Now that she had offended Elder Mo Hua and Elder White Bone, she had to think of a way to survive in the Yin corpse sect. Although Si Yue had harmed her before, if she could use Si Yue to stir up this mess, then she could postpone her revenge. I heard that Elder Cho's son will be back in 7 days. You should prepare early. I'm afraid that the matter of the mystic Yin White Bone Monkey can't be hidden for a few days. Wolf Fong said in a serious tone. The disciples of the second peak were all shocked and afraid, so no one thought of betraying Yin Jyoga for benefits. But it was hard to say when they calmed down. Many thanks for senior brother Wolf Fong's advice. I know what to do. Yin Jyoga thanked him again and again before sending Wolf Fong away. His method is indeed feasible. Zishang suddenly said. What method? Yin Jyoga didn't come back to her senses. Save Si Yue. Only by making things more chaotic and involving more people would Yin Jyoga have a chance of staying in the Yin Corpse sect. I think so too. Yin Jyoga nodded. If she had only offended Elder Mo Hua, she could still delay for a while. But with Elder White Bone, it would be troublesome. If she couldn't deal with them, she could only run. Pack your things first. I will go out and take a look. After Zishang finished speaking, he turned invisible. Yin Jyoga began to pack the things in the house. After half an hour, Zishang appeared in front of Yin Jyoga and said, Elder White Bone and Old Witch Mo Hua are busy dealing with the small mystic realm, and haven't received any news about the mystic Yin White Bone Monkey. You can still make it if you go to Enemy Peak now. Oh right, what's wrong with Si Yue? Yin Jyoga had never asked about this. I only used my demon power to seal her consciousness. You will naturally be able to undo it when you go. However, he had already heavily injured Si Yue's consciousness. Even if he could save her, he would be an idiot. Then let's go now. Yin Jyoga left the house and walked towards Enemy Peak. Enemy Peak was located in the north of the Yin Corpse sect. The entire mountain was hundreds of meters tall. The mountain was lush with spirit trees and murmuring water. One could even see long-eared rabbits, petal deer, and other spirit beasts. Not only did it not look like an evil mountain, it looked more like an immortal's residence. Elder Cho's son had not returned with his 2 disciples. The one in charge now was his other personal disciple, Jin Yanwei. Hearing that Yin Jyoga had come, he was a little curious, and asked his disciple to bring her in. Yin Jyo greets senior brother Jin. Yin Jyoga cupped her fists and bowed to Jin Yanwei. Junior brother Yin Jyo, you don't have to be so polite. Sit. Jin Yanwei invited Yin Jyoga to sit, and sized her up secretly. He saw that the youth in front of him was not tall, but his figure was very straight. Although his facial features were very delicate and slightly feminine, because of the corpse poison, his demonic red eyes and purple lips diluted the femininity, making him look very evil. One look and it was obvious that he was an evil disciple. Yin Jyoga was also secretly sizing up Jin Yanwei. This personal disciple of Elder Cho's son was already at the late stage of foundation establishment at such a young age. It was said that he was the most outstanding genius of the Yin Corpse sect in the past 100 years. Like Elder Cho's son, he was born with Yin spirit roots. Although this identity sounded awesome, because Jin Yanwei had a cute baby face and eyes that were clean and clear, it was obvious that he was well protected. Therefore it was greatly discounted. However, it was also very possible that Jin Yanwei was pretending to be naive. After all, evil disciples were the best at this. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.